Chapter 1951. It had to be said that Lin Wei's words were really straightforward. They were straight and didn't turn a corner at all. Whatever the truth was, he would just say it. He would say whatever he needed to say, other than being more talkative than before. The indifference on Lin Wei's face, that came from the bottom of his heart, did not change at all. For the past year, Yi Ling had been with Lin Wei. Ever since that time, Lin Wei did not force Yi Ling. However, this time, Lin Wei was willing to bring Yi Ling back. Although they had already agreed to it, Lin Wei was able to bring Yi Ling back in the end, because Yi Ling had agreed to bear his child. However, Yi Ling's condition was that he did not treat her as a tool to give birth. But Yi Ling didn't expect that Lin Wei would say this directly in front of her mother. Yi Ling's expression changed slightly. She turned her head and looked at her mother, Ji Qinqin, in a daze. Ji Qinqin had just found her daughter, who had been missing for many years. She was holding Yi Ling's hand, and could not recover from her excitement for a long time. However, in the next second, she suddenly heard Lin Wei's words. Ji Qinqin's expression changed abruptly. "You want my daughter to give birth to your child?" Ji Qinqin looked at Lin Wei from head to toe. Her eyes widened as she looked at Lin Wei and asked in disbelief. "Yes." Lin Wei did not realize that he had said something wrong as he replied. Although he could not give her love, other than love, he would not steal a woman. He would give her all his savings as long as she stayed by his side peacefully, and did not think about other people. Sex without love. Moreover, she had been with him for a year. There should be no reason for her to reject him. Reality proved that Lin Wei's straightforwardness was not likable. After hearing Lin Wei's words, Ji Qinqin rolled her eyes and shouted into the house. "Hubby! Hubby, come out for a moment." "Mom, is Dad home too?" Yi Ling was held by Ji Qinqin's hand. When she heard Ji Qinqin shouting into the house, she was both excited and a little scared. Yi Ling still remembered that although her father was strict with her when she was young, he was just like her mother. Her father doted on her to the bottom of his heart. However, she did not understand at that time. She was always fooling around and throwing tantrums, making her parents angry. After she was caught and sent to the hunting school, she no longer had anyone to rely on. Only then did she remember how good her parents were. She was afraid to see her father, because she was afraid that her father would blame her for running around and getting separated. However, longing took up a large part of her emotions. As she thought about it, Yi Ling felt a lump in her throat. She, who had been stubbornly refusing to let her parents see her cry, could not help but cry. "Lingling, don't be afraid. We're home. Dad and Mom will protect you. Mom has been looking for you for 10 years. I searched the entire world, but couldn't find you. In the end, I didn't dare to look for you anymore. I was afraid that Lingling would cry if she came home and didn't find Mom. Mom will protect you." Ji Qinqin pulled Yi Ling to her side and stared at Lin Wei, as if he was a human trafficker. Not long after, a thin and lean man walked out. The man's cheeks were sunken. It could be seen that ever since Yi Ling went missing, he had not had a good rest. He had been searching everywhere for her, and was getting thinner by the day. That man was Yi Ling's father, Yi Datong. Yi Datong was born in the countryside. Later on, he and Ji Qinqin started a company from scratch, and became a millionaire in the 1990s. After Yi Ling went missing, Yi Datong was almost dispirited. The company, which had a bright future, gradually went downhill. This was because Yi Datong was not in the mood to manage the company. He had always been focused on finding his daughter. The moment Ji Qinqin called Yi Datong out, Yi Datong saw Yi Ling, and was stunned for a moment. Although Yi Ling's appearance was different from when she was young, a person's appearance and charm were all inherited from when they were young. Of course, people who had undergone plastic surgery did not count. "Lingling? It's Lingling." It was as if Yi Datong had caught on to something that had brought him back from a hopeless situation. He was so shocked that he instantly shouted out loud. She was exactly the same as his daughter when she was young. It was his Lingling. "Hubby, hurry up and get the mop over there. This person actually wants our Lingling to give birth to his child. He even said that our Lingling agreed to give birth to his child, so he brought her back. He must be a human trafficker." At this moment, Ji Qinqin pointed at Lin Wei and shouted at Yi Datong in front of Yi Ling. What? How dare you kidnap my daughter? Yi Datong picked up the dirty mop next to him and swung it at Lin Wei's handsome face and slender body. A. Chapter 1952. Yi Ling almost covered her mouth in shock when she saw her father throw the mop at Lin Wei's slender body. She wanted to stop him, but Ji Qinqin pulled her back. Ling, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will protect you. You're home now and safe. Mom and Dad will protect you. No matter how you were treated in the past, you're still our child. Ji Qinqin started to cry as she spoke. This man actually wanted her daughter to give birth to his child. Her Ling had been away from home for 11 years and was only 20 years old now. What kind of inhumane treatment did she receive? She had just found her daughter, and this man actually wanted her to give birth to his child? He didn't treat Ling as a human being. When Ji Qinqin heard Lin Wei's words, she blamed herself even more for not protecting Yi Ling. She shielded Yi Ling behind her like a hen protecting her chick, and glared at Lin Wei like a wolf. At this moment, Yi Datong had already thrown the mop at Lin Wei. Oh my God! Yi Ling screamed in her heart. She didn't even dare to watch what happened next. He wouldn't lay a hand on her father, right? If he dared to lay a hand on her father, she swore that she would never look at him again for the rest of her life. However, Lin Wei saw Yi Ling's anxious eyes the moment Yi Datong threw the mop at him. Lin Wei, who was about to make a move, suddenly stopped and only moved his body slightly to the side. He threw the mop over, and the dirty water on the ground was swept up by his sleeve. Yi Datong's mop didn't hit Lin Wei's body. However, the dirty water that splashed up from the mop formed an arc in the air. In the next second, the mop spun and formed an arc in the air. Pada! The mop didn't hit Lin Wei, but the dirty water from the mop flew straight up and splashed onto Lin Wei's handsome face. Yi Ling could clearly see the veins on Lin Wei's forehead throbbing. After living with Lin Wei for about a year, Yi Ling knew that although Lin Wei wasn't a serious germaphobe, being splashed on the face by a dirty mop would probably make anyone unhappy, right? Dad! Mom! He's not a human trafficker. If it wasn't for him, I might not even have been able to come back to look for you. Yi Ling stood behind Ji Qinqin and said loudly to Ji Qinqin and Yi Datong. What? He's not a human trafficker? Ji Qinqin and Yi Datong were stunned. Ling, tell me the truth. Is he really not a human trafficker? Ling, don't be afraid. If he's a human trafficker, I'll send him to jail for the rest of his life. Ji Qinqin still looked at Lin Wei warily. In the end, Yi Ling tried her best to explain. Ji Qinqin and Yi Datong finally let down their guard against Lin Wei. In the big living room of the Yi family, Yi Ling had filled a basin with water and was carefully wiping the dirty mop on Lin Wei's face. Yi Ling had a pair of naturally beautiful sky blue eyes. She focused on wiping the dirty water from the mop on Lin Wei's face carefully. Lin Wei didn't say anything. He just stared at her and watched her carefully wipe the dirty water from his face. That pair of sky blue eyes, along with those long and narrow eyelashes, fluttered up and down. Lin Wei couldn't help but swallow his throat, and his heart beat quickly twice. Lin Wei quickly moved his eyes away. Sorry, we misunderstood you. When our Ling was separated, we almost had a mental breakdown. Ling is our life. Ji Qinqin put a cup of hot water in front of Lin Wei. Lin Wei responded to Ji Qinqin. After responding, Lin Wei reached out to take the hot water. Be careful, it's hot. Seeing that Lin Wei directly took the hot water and was about to drink it, Ji Qinqin warned him. However, what Ji Qinqin didn't expect was that Lin Wei took the hot water and drank it directly. He didn't even frown. After drinking the tea, Lin Wei turned his head to look at Yi Ling and said to Ji Qinqin, I must marry. A. Chapter 1953. Lin Wei heard Ji Qinqin and Yi Datong's reactions and felt that Ji Qinqin and Yi Datong would not allow him to take Yi Ling away. So he was anxious. But how could he take Yi Ling away? Lin Wei was not stupid. He thought of it immediately. Of course, it was to marry her. When Lin Wei was anxious, he would directly say what he was thinking. Lin Wei almost blurted out these words just now. Young man, I have no objections if you want to marry my Ling. I think you are a very upright person. It's just that my Ling just came back. We haven't seen her for 11 years. If you take her away immediately Ji Qianqin felt uncomfortable and felt her heart tighten. Her child had been separated for 11 years. Now that she finally came back, Ji Qianqin was not willing to leave again. Mom, I'm not leaving. Yi Ling heard Ji Qianqin's words and her eyes were wet. She put down her hand that was wiping Lin Wei's dirty water and leaned on Ji Qianqin's shoulder. Good child. Ji Qianqin rubbed Yi Ling's head, obviously worried. Not leaving. Lin Wei heard Yi Ling's words and asked. Yes. Yi Ling was a little afraid of Lin Wei. She shrank in Ji Qianqin's arms and nodded at Lin Wei like a chick pecking at rice. She did not want to leave. She definitely did not want to leave. But Yi Ling knew Lin Wei's strength. If he insisted on leaving, then she. Okay, I won't leave. Lin Wei said. After 2 seconds of silence he said, I'll stay. He wouldn't leave before she gave birth to the baby. Yi Ling pursed her lips and opened her mouth in surprise when she heard Lin Wei's words. In the end, she did not say anything. Later, Xue Ying and Adam found out that Lin Wei actually went to someone's house to chase a woman. When they thought of Lin Wei's usual murderous face, Xue Ying and Adam almost fell into a cesspool with laughter. However, this was a story for later. A year had passed. They thought that Yun Jian would come back after staying in the hunting school for a year. But they did not hear any news about Yun Jian. In the end, Gu Junjian almost fainted when he received the news that Yun Jian had gone missing not long after entering the hunting school. However, Gu Junjian believed that Yun Jian would be fine. Therefore, after thinking about it for a long time, he decided to hide it from Qin Yiru and secretly send people to the Venezuelan forest to search for Yun Jian's whereabouts. A year had passed, and Yun Jian had not returned yet. Gu Junjian naturally had to find a reason to hide it. He said that Yun Jian had graduated from the hunting school, but for the sake of better development, she was arranged to go to a better place before she could go home to say goodbye, so she had to stay for a while. As for what excuse he could come up with to hide it in the future, he could only think about it when the time came. Everything seemed to have settled down. Without Yun Jian, although many people felt uneasy, they still had to live their lives day by day. In the blink of an eye, it was only 3 days away from the 666th day. Nearly 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. God Continent Bailey family. After the temple was blown up, the Lord God was not around. The Lord God had been staying in the Bailey family, swindling food and drinks, saying that he had not recovered from his serious injuries, and refused to leave. Bailey Yin did not say anything, and since the last time, she did not go to see the Lord God again. But now, the Lord God came to her courtyard every day, and was happy not to be tired. Bailey Yin did not know what to say to him. She could neither chase him away nor keep him. At this moment, seeing that Bailey Yin wanted to chase him away, the Lord God crossed his legs. His handsome face was 80% similar to Si Yi's. He shook his legs and said to Bailey Yin, who was about to chase him away, Yin, our son and daughter-in-law are coming out. Bailey Yin was about to chase him away, but now that she heard the Lord God say that their son and daughter-in-law were coming out, her mood was disturbed by the Lord God. How many days until our son and daughter-in-law come out? Isn't there only 3 days? The Lord God said and pulled Bailey Yin, who did not react, into his arms. Ah, what are you doing? Only then did Bailey Yin realize the Lord God's purpose. She struggled twice. The Lord God kissed Bailey Yin's cheek, touched her legs twice, and laughed secretly. It's not like you don't know what I'm doing. Although you hate me, you haven't been loved for so many years. Don't you feel lonely? When Bailey Yin heard this, her face turned red. She slapped the Lord God's hand away. Without you, I'm doing very well. But I'm not doing well, Yin. Let the past be the past. Look, the two of us even have a child. Let's not talk about anything else. Just take it that you can't bear the loneliness, okay? The Lord God hinted crazily. As he spoke, he moved his hands twice. Bailey Yin was silent. She was silent for 2 seconds, and then said softly, that can only be done once. As soon as Bailey Yin said this, the Lord God carried her horizontally and walked her to the bedroom. Chapter 1954. After being tormented. Bailey Yin thought that the Master God would really listen to her, just once. But how could Bailey Yin think that once was enough for the Master God, who had not touched her for thousands of years? In the end, Bailey Yan's voice was hoarse before the Master God let her go. As soon as it was done, Bailey Yin wanted to push the Master God away. Enough, you can go out. This is my room. Weren't you very comfortable just now? Why do you want to wipe your ass and not admit it? No way. As the Master God spoke, he hugged Bailey Yin tightly. That handsome young face that was no longer an old man was asking for a beating. Go away. Bailey Yin pushed the Master God a few times. The Master God hugged Bailey Yin tightly and did not let go. Bailey Yin felt that she had been schemed against. She wanted to cry but had no tears. Unfortunately, from the moment Bailey Yin agreed to the Master God's request, the Master God had already schemed. Humph, how could he let her go down after she got into his bed? It was the 666th day that Yun Jian and Ce stayed in the Holy Spring. Yun Jian and Ce had been away from Earth for almost 2 years. According to the calendar of country Z on Earth, 2 new years had already passed. It was already 2001. There was a huge difference between 1999 and 2001. In the late 1990s, if a car drove on the streets of country Z, it would cause a sensation. At this time in 2001, although cars had not become completely popular, it was normal for a car to drive on the streets from time to time. Country Z's economy began to develop rapidly from the 1990s to 2000. In 2001, it had reached a point where foreigners were stunned. September 15, 2001. At that time, in a 5-star international hotel in Venezuela. This 5-star international hotel in Venezuela was located not far from the hunting school. Usually, the people who wandered around this 5-star international hotel were the richest and most powerful people in Venezuela. And today, the hunting school invited 6 of the most outstanding students from all over the world who had successfully graduated from the school to have a meal here. Hearing the news, the rich people from all over Venezuela hurried over. They all wanted to see what the 6 big shots from all over the world who had graduated from hunting schools looked like. At this moment, the 6 people who had successfully graduated from the hunting school were standing in this 5-star international hotel, receiving the worship and reverence of the people around them. Besides Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin, my Dan, who had always been against Yun Jian, also graduated from the hunting school. What did it mean to graduate from a hunting school? One had to know that the mortality rate of hunting schools was as high as 80%. To be able to graduate from a hunting school meant that this person was an elite among the international elites. A genius among geniuses. My Dan also happened to be in line. Contrary to the modesty of Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin, my Dan's face was full of arrogance, as if he were the most powerful person in the world. Seeing Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin, my Dan remembered the arrogant Yun Jian from Z country. My Dan felt the adoration of the surrounding people. She looked at Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin with a cold and arrogant face, and couldn't help but sneer. Oh look, these are the 2 great heroes of Z country? Where is the other one? The other one, of course, referred to Yun Jian. But everyone knew that Yun Jian went missing in the forest of the hunting school. Now it had been 2 years, and Yun Jian's death was basically a foregone conclusion. My Dan, what do you mean? Chen Yang heard my Dan's words and clenched his fists. TSK brother, don't you know what I mean? I heard that 16's family is still looking for her in the forest of Venezuela. She has been missing for almost 2 years. Even if she was alive before, she should be dead by now. The funny thing is that you thought she could lead you to a new height. Haha, how stupid. Such an arrogant and self-righteous girl. She deserves to die. Dying in the forest of Venezuela is already too easy for her. My Dan's words were getting more and more outrageous. In the end, he even sneered, as if he was mocking Yun Jian's death as a matter of course. Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin clenched their fists in an instant. However, just at the moment when Chen Yang was about to hit my Dan, a long-lost female voice, like the sound of nature, sounded and spread all over the place. What a pity. I have to disappoint you. After he finished speaking, everyone turned their heads and saw a beautiful young girl's figure at the entrance. She walked briskly in front of Maidan and the others. A. Chapter 1955. The young girl's beautiful figure appeared in front of everyone. Her graceful figure attracted the attention of many men present. When Jamil, the chief instructor of the hunting school, Maidan, who had just mocked Yun Jian's disappearance, and all the people who knew Yun Jian, saw her suddenly appear in front of them, they were so shocked that their faces changed drastically. Imagine, a person who should have died in the Venezuelan forest suddenly appeared in front of the people of the secular world. How would they react? 116. Maidan cried out in shock, her widened eyes narrowing as she stared at Yun Jian, who was walking toward them in disbelief. The moment Jamil saw Yun Jian, he also couldn't believe it. When Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin saw Yun Jian, they were both surprised and pleasantly surprised. Even though 2 years had passed, Yun Jian's strength and achievements were deeply imprinted in their hearts. The 16-year-old Yun Jian was the king's spokesperson that could never be erased in their hearts. 2 years had passed. The young girl who made Chen Yang, Ding Jianlin, and countless people shocked and terrified, returned with glory. Yun Jian, you really didn't die. We always believed that you were still alive. Officer Go also always believed that you were still alive. You are the pride of the Z nation. You will lead us to new heights. How could you die so easily? Following Maidan's words, Chen Yang shouted these words excitedly in a way that slapped Maidan in the face. Yes, Yun Jian was the pride of the Z nation. She was the pride of the Z nation. How could she die so easily? Many of the people around were rich and powerful aristocrats from all over Venezuela. When they saw Yun Jian for the first time, they were attracted by Yun Jian's unique and charming appearance. 2 years ago, Yun Jian was 16 years old, and she had already grown into a slender and elegant woman. Today, Yun Jian was 18 years old. Her originally plump bosom had become even rounder, and her beautiful face had lost its youthfulness. Her exquisite beauty made the men and women present gasp. It had to be said that in the past 2 years, Yun Jian had changed a lot. But in conclusion, the current Yun Jian had lost the innocence of a young girl and gained the taste of a woman. With every step she took, she gave people a stunning feeling that they were unable to extricate themselves from it. Coupled with the aura of a king emanating from her body, she not only attracted the attention of men, but also attracted the attention of all the women around her. Even Maidan, who had always been hostile to Yun Jian, couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Yun Jian walked to Maidan, Chen Yang, Ding Jianlin and the others. She only stayed in front of them for a while, then slightly turned around. She reached out her hand, and her hands, which had become as white as a baby's skin after soaking in the holy spring, gently lifted a small lock of her hair behind her ear. This action made many people's hearts tighten. Even their bodies and minds melted on the spot when Yun Jian lifted her hair. Maidan also pursed his lips and paused. He didn't dare to look directly at Yun Jian's beauty. He was unconvinced and said to Yun Jian, 16. Even if you are alive, what can you do? When the wilderness survival event was over, you were disqualified from graduating from the hunting academy. You who have no achievements are just a waste. In this world, you, who have no power and status, have long been eliminated by the world. Maidan's words spread all over the place. Although his arrogant tone was displeasing to the crowd, what he said was the truth. Is that so? Just when everyone thought that Maidan's words were reasonable, Yun Jian's beautiful voice sounded again. Just when everyone was mesmerized by Yun Jian's beautiful voice, Yun Jian's curled lips instantly disappeared. Everyone saw that after Yun Jian's simple words, outside the 5-star international hotel, 2 figures walked in through the door that faced Yun Jian. These 2 figures were a man and a woman. The man was tall and burly, with a height of more than 1.9 meters. The woman was enchanting and charming, with ample breasts and a plump butt. After the 2 walked into the 5-star international hotel, they caused a commotion. Could it be that those 2 are the most authoritative kosher mercenaries, Tiger, Leopard and Snake? Lizard, besides the kosher mercenaries' boss? Oh my God! Why are these 2 great Buddhas here? Everyone was in a panic. Maidan and everyone around, including Jamil, felt their hearts tighten. However, before Tiger, Leopard and Snake, Lizard, who had just walked in, came to them. Yun Jian, who stood beside them, pressed her red lips together with a smirk. In the next second, Tiger, Leopard, and Snake, Lizard went to stand in front of Yun Jian and bowed deeply to Yun Jian in unison, saying directly in front of everyone, "Welcome back, Sister Jian." Everyone's pupils constricted at the sight. When they looked again, Yun Jian, who stood in front of them, was facing them sideways. She was like a queen, making people lower their prideful heads before her. She tilted her body sideways, her red lips arched slightly. Just like that, she commanded Tiger, Leopard, and Snake, Lizard, the most authoritative figures in kosher mercenaries, in front of everyone like a boss. "Tell the world that I, slaying God, have returned." Chapter 1956. Slaying God would return to the stage of history with a brand new identity. It was a true and complete announcement to the world that she was back. At that time, even Tiger, Leopard, and Snake, Lizard, who were powerhouses and used to meeting powerhouses, could not help feeling respect for Yun Jian. What was the most powerful? To be able to subdue all powerhouses and make them revere her from the bottom of their hearts, even surrendering to her without hesitation. This was the realm of a person's greatest strength. Yun Jian, on the other hand, had the ability to make people submit to her. Snake, Lizard, and Tiger, Leopard nodded at Yun Jian and answered, "Yes." Snake, Lizard, and Tiger, Leopard's appearance stunned everyone. After all, someone had revealed their identities just now. Both of them were the most authoritative figures in the kosher mercenaries, Tiger, Leopard, and Snake, Lizard. Their status in the kosher mercenaries was second only to the boss of the kosher mercenaries. In spite of it, both of them had stood in front of Yun Jian and greeted Yun Jian, "Sister Jian, welcome back." What was more frightening was that Yun Jian had replied, "Tell the world that I, slaying God, have returned." Slaying God? The name was not unfamiliar to the people present. Even when slaying God had not been in action for 2 years, her position as the top secret agent was still unshakable. When they heard Yun Jian calling herself slaying God, everyone was stunned. When they recovered from the shock, they panicked. This was especially true for my Dan, whose face turned pale in an instant. That was right. Slaying God had not been in action for 2 years, and there were already people internationally eyeing her position. Slaying God had not been in action for 2 years, and Yun Jian had been missing for 2 years as well. If the two were connected, Yun Jian was it. Slaying God. She's slaying God. Some people had already reacted before my Dan. They were so shocked that their pupils constricted and their eyes widened. Especially those powerful nobles from all over Venezuela, who were originally curious about what the 6 people who had successfully graduated from the hunting school looked like. At this moment, after hearing Yun Jian's words, coupled with the horrified and stunned voices of the people around them, they were so scared that they hid under the table. Slaying God. It was slaying God. Slaying God. The number 1 on the international secret agent ranking. That was a demon that killed without batting an eyelid. Usually, the nobles would tremble at the mention of slaying God's title. Not to mention meeting slaying God in person. The word shock could not even begin to describe it. At that moment, my Dan's hands, legs, and head were all trembling madly at a speed that everyone could clearly see with their naked eyes. No wonder Sir Linwei called you SS. No wonder Sir Linwei looked at you with such a strange gaze. You're slaying God. You are the unprecedented number 1 assassin among the many secret agents trained by Linwei. This time, my Dan looked at Yun Jian. He had gone from being arrogant in the beginning to trembling violently now. He could not afford to offend slaying God. He dared not offend her either. The kosher mercenaries were not the only people behind her. However, just when my Dan thought that this was the most terrifying thing he had ever heard in his life, once again, my Dan heard a student who had graduated from the hunting school with him pointing at the main entrance and saying, "Look, that's Sir Linwei." However, 2 people stopped at the main entrance and entered. The man in the lead was as handsome as ever. His tall figure coupled with his dominating aura made everyone's heart skip a beat. Linwei followed closely behind the man and walked over. To be able to make Sir Linwei submit to him, could that man be Someone who had just recovered from the shock was stunned again. The leader of an Hun group. The most mysterious person in the world. Someone shouted in horror. My Dan was so shocked that he fell to the ground. Then he saw Lin Wei, who was following behind Ce, stand in front of Yun Jian and greet Yun Jian respectfully in front of everyone. Young madam. Chapter 1957. Back in the hunting school, Lin Wei had attended as the assistant instructor. Today, the hunting school had invited the 6 people who had graduated from the school. Naturally, Lin Wei had to attend. Ever since Yi Ling returned home, Lin Wei had often stayed at her house. In layman's terms, he was playing the role of a live-in son-in-law. The scary thing was that Lin Wei had no sense of shame. Today, the hunting school had invited the 6 people who had graduated successfully. Lin Wei had just rushed over from Yi Ling's house. Of course, Lin Wei did not stay at Yi Ling's house every day. Lin Wei was in charge of An Hun's assassin training camp as usual. Back in the hunting school, Mai Dan, Chen Yang, Ding Jianlin, Chief Instructor Jamil, and the rest could feel Lin Wei's respectful attitude toward Yun Jian. However, no one thought much of it. After all, Lin Wei's respect toward Yun Jian was not very obvious. That level of respect was more like the relationship between old acquaintances. However, no one expected that. As one of the 4 leaders of An Hun, Lin Wei had just addressed Yun Jian as young madam, in front of everyone. Young madam? Was this not an honorific for the female boss of An Hun? In that case, Yun Jian was the leader of An Hun and her. Young madam? Sir Lin Wei 16 could she be? Even Jamil's eyes widened as he looked at Lin Wei in shock. Back when Buddy was killed by Yun Jian, Jamil had even wanted to avenge him. However, now that he thought about it, not only was Yun Jian the boss of kosher mercenaries slaying God, she was also An Hun's leader's woman? Yun Jian, who had disappeared for 2 years, suddenly brought such shocking news to everyone. This was unacceptable to everyone, but they had to accept such a shocking and unbelievable thing. Lin Wei nodded silently at Jamil. Lin Wei's nod confirmed all the doubts in everyone's hearts. At the same time, Ce, who was walking in front of Lin Wei, had already arrived in front of Yun Jian. He reached out and grabbed Yun Jian's small hand. He turned around and revealed his handsome face, which made the 5-star international hotel lose its luster in an instant. 2 years later, Ce was 22 years old, 4 years older than Yun Jian. After 2 years, Ce had become even more handsome. His handsome face was simply the object of every girl's imagination. Both men and women present couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. In this world, there was actually such a handsome man. Everyone couldn't help but sigh at how realistic this scene was. Lin Wei, take care of all those who have insulted her. The man who was unbelievably perfect standing in front of everyone held Yun Jian's hand and uttered the words coldly. When everyone heard this, their expressions changed drastically. This was especially true for Mai Dan. When he heard Ce's words, his entire body began to tremble violently. His instincts told him that he was dead meat. Ce had already pulled Yun Jian's hand and walked out. Near the 5-star international hotel, Yun Jian's hand was held by Ce as she looked at Tiger, Leopard and Snake, Lizard. Above her delicate face, there was a sharp glint in her eyes. Yun Jian was currently listening to Tiger, Leopard and Snake, Lizard's report on what had happened in the 2 years she was away. Sister Jian, during the time you were away, other than An Hun group and kosher mercenaries, many large-scale forces have risen internationally. Their capabilities are second only to us. Among these large-scale forces, there's a force called Reverse Emperor that stands out the most. It's rampant in the world, and its influence has grown to the point where it's almost on par with An Hun group and kosher mercenaries in just 2 years. Snake, Lizard told Yun Jian everything that had happened in the past 2 years. Without Yun Jian around, Tiger, Leopard and Snake, Lizard dared not make any big decisions. So many forces took advantage of the time to rise. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and smirked. Reverse Emperor, huh? I'd like to see how arrogant they can be in my territory. Chapter 1958. In the 2 years that Yun Jian and Ce were missing, many organizations of varying sizes had risen. Among them, an assassin organization called Reverse Emperor was the most prominent. In the short span of 2 years, Reverse Emperor had developed to the point where it was almost on par with an Hun group and Kosha mercenaries. In these 2 years, Kosha mercenaries did not have Yin Jian's leadership, and an Hun group did not have Si Yi's leadership. Their progress was not as fast. A leader was the most important existence to a whole. One must always remember that if one did not improve and stayed where one was, there would be someone better in this world stepping on one's back to climb up. It was only a matter of time before they surpassed one. It was also because Yun Jian and Si Yi had gone missing for 2 years that assassin organizations had developed rapidly. Just like Blood Doll back then, those who were not good enough and could not move forward would be eliminated by the world. This was an unchanging law. It was only a matter of time before Yun Jian met Reverse Emperor, but at least she would not do so now. At the moment, Yun Jian had parted ways with Si Yi and returned to Country Z's Longmen City. Si Yi had returned to an Hun group. Tiger, Leopard and Snake. Lizard had rushed to the 5-star international hotel as soon as Yun Jian and Si Yi returned to Earth after Yun Jian informed them. After parting ways with Si Yi, Tiger, Leopard and Snake, Lizard told Yun Jian about the Kosha mercenaries' recent trends in detail. Yun Jian left Venezuela after instructing them what to do. At the same time, Yun Jian was on a plane back to Country Z's Longmen City. Before he left, Si Yi told her that he would go to Longmen City to look for her after he was done with an Hun group's matters. Recalling how Si Yi had pestered her so many times before they left the spring, Yun Jian blushed. "I'm sorry, babe, can you move aside? I need to go to the washroom." Just as Yun Jian was lost in her thoughts, a girl who was about the same age as Yun Jian sitting next to Yun Jian held her stomach, twisting and turning as she looked at Yun Jian urgently. Yun Jian was currently on a flight to Country Zija province, a city with an airport that was the closest to Longmen City. Yun Jian's seat was not by the window, but by the aisle next to the window seat. The girl who sat by the window suddenly felt the urge to pee and wanted to leave Yun Jian's seat to go to the washroom at the back of the plane. Yun Jian shifted her legs to make room for her. After a while, the girl who needed to pee returned to her seat. At this time, the plane encountered turbulence and began to shake. The toilet at the back of the plane was temporarily closed due to the turbulence. Phew, luckily I went to the toilet in time. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to go to the toilet. I would have suffocated to death. The girl heaved a sigh of relief and smiled, fastening her seatbelt. Seeing that Yun Jian had been resting with her eyes closed since the beginning, the girl probably felt bored on the plane and asked Yun Jian, "Hello, babe. Hey, how are you, beautiful? Are you alone too?" Yun Jian's eyes widened. She did not respond to the girl with excitement, but she did not ignore her either. She nodded softly. I see. Haha, I came back alone too. I'm Jian Ning, what's your name?" The girl asked Yun Jian because she was bored on the way back and wanted to find someone to talk to. Yun Jian answered. "Wow, Yun Jian. That's a nice name." Jian Ning praised Yun Jian before continuing to talk to Yun Jian. She learned from Jian Ning that Yun Jian studied abroad in high school. Now that she was about to enter university, she did not want to continue her studies abroad, so she took a flight back to China. As they chatted, Jian Ning and Yun Jian became familiar with each other. Chapter 1959. The flight was not long, especially when there was someone to talk to. Although Jian Ning talked to Yun Jian, and Yun Jian did not respond enthusiastically, it was better than not talking at all. Soon, the plane landed at the terminal and Yun Jian learned about Jian Ning's family background. Jian Ning's family was rich, and she was good at her studies. She went abroad when she was in high school. It was now the 15th of September, which was the time when the freshmen enrolled in 2001. Jian Ning's studies abroad were excellent, and she wanted to go back to study at a university. As soon as Jian Ning's father contacted her, many universities threw a football to Jian Ning. After all, Jian Ning was an excellent student who came back from abroad. She came from a wealthy family, and her father often donated money. Which university would not like her? Then you decide which university you want to go to. Yun Jian suddenly realized that she would not be able to go back to the Min Military Academy after she left for 2 years. Even if she went back, she would not be able to catch up with the others. Yun Jian was in her first year of high school at 16. She was in her second year of high school at 17. Now that she was 18, she should be in her third year of high school. However, Yun Jian knew that the rules of the Min Military Academy were very strict. She could be considered as taking a leave of absence for the first year. After that, she disappeared for another year, and should have been expelled. Even if the Min Military Academy did not expel her, Yun Jian did not plan to go back to the Min Military Academy. She planned to skip the third year of high school and go to a university. She used to go to the military academy to recover her strength to the level she was at in her previous life. However, in the past 2 years, including the few days of training in the hunting school, she was much better than she was in her previous life. Skills were improved through actual combat. Yun Jian, who had enough strength, would return to the world of bloodshed. It would be inappropriate for her to go back to the Min Military Academy. Moreover, the university was more lax and free, which made it easier for her to take a leave of absence and return to the organization. Now, in the 2 years that she was away, many big and small organizations had risen. Reverse Emperor was almost as powerful as the Kosha mercenaries, and in Han. Yun Jian would not allow that to happen. Due to various reasons, she chose to skip a grade and go to a university. When Yun Jian asked Jian Ning where she planned to go to college, the plane had already landed and was taxiing on the runway. It would take some time for the plane to stop. Hearing Yun Jian's words, Jian Ning pointed to herself. Me? I plan to learn computer science. Although computers and other equipment are not yet common, I believe that one day it will be common all over the world. There's a lot of room for development, so I plan to go to Jiangqing University of Electronic Science and Technology of China in Jiangqing City. Jian Ning's words were full of hope and yearning for the future. Yun Jian couldn't help but narrow her eyes. At this time, the plane had finished taxiing and arrived at the disembarkation point. We're here. We should get off the plane. By the way, what's your phone number? It's rare for us to get to know each other. Let's exchange numbers. Jian Ning took out her phone and asked Yun Jian. Only then did Yun Jian remember that her phone was long gone. His original phone number had also been scrapped. Yun Jian pursed her red lips and said, I don't have a phone number. You don't have a phone number? It feels like you've just come back from paradise. I'll give you my phone number then. You can contact me anytime. Jian Ning took out a small piece of paper from her backpack and wrote a phone number on it before handing it to Yun Jian. She then waved at Yun Jian and got off the plane. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at the sight and got off the plane without hesitation. It took about 2 hours to take a taxi back to Longmen City from the airport. He hadn't been back for 2 years. The shop and its surroundings had changed completely. Yun Jian pursed her lips into a smile. She did not go home, but walked briskly to the florist where Qin Yiru worked. Chapter 1960. In the flower shop where Qin Yiru worked. Qin Yiru had been working in the flower shop for 2 years. Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian hadn't had their own children, because Qin Yiru was a little old. If she gave birth again, she would be an advanced pregnant woman. Qin Yiru didn't have a good rest in the past. Her body wasn't very good. If she married Gu Junjian and gave birth immediately, it would be very dangerous and not good for the child. Therefore, Gu Junjian had been taking care of Qin Yiru's body for the past 2 years. He wanted Qin Yiru to recover and give birth again. Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian were very eager to have a child of their own. Therefore, Qin Yiru ate and drank as much as she should in the past 2 years. She took good care of her body. The employees of the flower shop came and went in batches. Now, only Qin Yiru and a few other old employees stayed in the flower shop all the time. Qin Yiru didn't know that Yun Jian had disappeared from the hunting school a year ago. She had lived a good life in the past 2 years. Gu Junjian was the one who suffered. Gu Junjian had been sending people to search for Yun Jian in the Venezuelan forest on a large scale. On the other hand, he had to hide it from Qin Yiru. Therefore, he had lost a lot of weight in the past 2 years. But now Gu Yunjian's position was getting higher and higher. Therefore, some people who were jealous of Gu Yunjian's high position began to think of ways to harm Gu Junjian. Qin Yiru had just gotten off work when a red car blocked her way. A woman in gorgeous clothes got out of the red car and stood in front of Qin Yiru. Seeing the gorgeous woman appear in front of Qin Yiru in a red car, the female employees who worked with Qin Yiru were stunned. Although cars were gradually appearing in the public sight in 2001, one could not afford one if they didn't have some money. There were more people who owned cars in Longmen City compared to 1999. In this era, driving a car was still enviable. What was more, a woman driving a car? If a woman could drive a car, it was usually because the man in the family owned one too. Only when the family was rich would they buy a car for the woman. In this era, a woman who could afford a red car was equivalent to a woman who relied on a man to drive a sports car. It was enviable. Therefore, the appearance of the gorgeous woman immediately attracted envious gazes from the people around her. A few colleagues who got off work together with Qin Yiru started to grumble when they saw her. "Oh my God, who's this woman? She looks rich." The woman could hear everyone's discussion clearly. She then blocked Qin Yiru and stopped Qin Yiru from going further. "You are?" Qin Yiru asked in confusion when she saw him. "Officer Ji's wife? Oh my God, you're actually working in a place like this? TSK. No wonder those rich ladies said that you're marrying into a higher social class by marrying Officer Gu." The gorgeously dressed woman did not answer Qin Yiru. Instead, she glanced at Qin Yiru in disdain and clicked her tongue. The woman's name was Chen Dingling. Chen Dingling's husband worked for Gu Junjian. He was not as outstanding as Gu Junjian, and his position was not as high as Gu Yunjian's. 2 days ago, Chen Dingling heard her husband talk about Yunjian. Chen Dingling thought about it and decided to tell Qin Yiru about Yunjian so that Qin Yiru could go home and make a scene with Gu Junjian. It would be best if Gu Junjian did not have the heart to take up the position and was demoted. Then, her husband would be able to take up the position. Chen Dingling's eyes darted around, but she continued without waiting for Qin Yiru's reply. "TSK. You're dressed like a country bumpkin. No wonder your man hid it from you. If it were me, I wouldn't bother to tell you about your daughter's accident either." As Chen Dingling spoke, she flipped her hair with her long, red fingernails and gave Qin Yiru a mocking look from the corner of her eyes. Qin Yiru was not going to listen to Chen Dingling, but Qin Yiru's heart clenched when Chen Dingling mentioned her daughter. She asked quickly, "What did you say? What happened to my Xiaojian?" "She's dead. Look at you, you obviously don't know about this. Hehe, your precious daughter died in the hunting school. It's been 2 years, and you still don't know. Pfft. I really don't know if Officer Gu sees you as his wife. Country bumpkin." Chen Dingling sneered at Qin Yiru. "What? Didn't my Xiaojian go for further studies? Impossible." Qin Yiru shook her head in disbelief at Chen Dingling's words. "PFT, I hate country bumpkin women like you the most. You look so poor. Ha, I told you that your daughter is dead. Why would I lie to you?" Chen Dingling spoke again. Before Chen Dingling could finish, however, a melodious female voice drowned out Chen Dingling's words and reached Qin Yiru and everyone else's ears. "Since when did I not know that I'm dead?" After she finished speaking, everyone saw a slender figure, fair skin, an unbelievably beautiful figure suddenly appear. The person who came smiled coldly as she replied to Chen Dingling. She was so beautiful that it made people stop breathing. Chapter 1962. As it turned out, it was a piece of cake for Yunjian to get into a university. If one were to ask why, it was because New Cruise had gone global now. In the 2 years that Yunjian was not around, Zhang Jifan had expanded New Cruise to become one of the top 50 companies in the world. It was a world of difference compared to New Cruise's status in Country Z, and even the world 2 years ago, who in Country Z did not know about New Cruise now. As it turned out, it was a wise choice for Yunjian to choose Zhang Jifan as New Cruise's director back then. Now, New Cruise had taken the world by storm, becoming a household name in Country Z's automobile marketing company. Yun Jian wanted to enroll into the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. All she had to do was give Zhang Jifan a call. Yun Jian, who had successfully enrolled, was dragging her simple suitcase to Zhe Province's Jiangqing City. Jiangqing City was not close to Longmen City, but it was fortunate that it was within Zhe Province, so it could not be too far away. It was a 4-hour drive from Longmen City to Jiangqing City. Yun Jian's suitcase was small. She dragged it to the entrance of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China and found her dormitory after asking the student council members, who were welcoming the new students at the entrance. The dormitory here had 4 people per room, which was the norm. Just as Yun Jian opened the door, she heard 2 girls with heavy makeup and revealing outfits chatting inside. Brother Kai said he'll bring everyone to the computer classroom tonight to look at the laptop his dad brought back from overseas. There's also a whole set of installed programs. It looks really advanced. It's comparable to hackers. Really? Why would I lie to you? I heard that many girls are going to join in the fun because Brother Kai brought a hacker friend back from overseas. He's really good. If we who study computing can be as good as his friend, we'll be invincible. A lot of girls are going with them too. Then we'll have to dress up before we go. The girls' conversation reached Yun Jian's ears. When Yun Jian entered the dormitory, the 2 girls only turned to glance at Yun Jian before continuing their conversation. They ignored Yun Jian and even skipped the introductions. At first glance, these 2 girls looked like gangsters and gangsters. Girls like them usually thought of themselves as high and mighty and could not be bothered with others. Hi, you're the new roommate, aren't you? The other girl who did not get along with the other 2 girls asked Yun Jian. This woman was not beautiful. She was short, not even 1.55 meters tall. Her body was also round and very fat. But she was very friendly to Yun Jian. She was completely different from the other 2 girls, who looked like gangsters at first glance. Yes, Yun Jian replied. Hi, my name is Zhu Huili. I'm 19 years old this year, and I'm from El Province. We're in the same class. Shall we be friends? Zhu Huili asked Yun Jian cautiously after introducing herself. Yes. Yun Jian nodded. After a pause she continued. I'm Yun Jian. Zhu Huili was not very good-looking and was not very tall, but she was very nice to Yun Jian. She even took the initiative to help Yun Jian tidy up her bed. With her help, Yun Jian quickly tidied up her bed. It was already time for dinner. Shall we go to the cafeteria for dinner? Zhu Huili asked Yun Jian. Yun Jian nodded. The University of Electronic Science and Technology of China was very big. It was easy for strangers to get lost when they first came here. Yun Jian was also here for the first time. Naturally, she did not know the way. Fortunately, she had Zhu Huili with her. Yun Jian and Zhu Huili had just arrived at the entrance of the cafeteria nearest to the dormitory. Before they entered the cafeteria, they were stopped by a group of students who were recruiting new students to join the club. Hey little girl, do you want to join the martial arts club? There's a big brother who will teach you martial arts. Do you want to join us? A ruffian boy stopped Yun Jian. Zhu Huili was not very good looking. She was also chubby. Naturally, these boys would not be interested in her. Usually there were clubs in universities. Everyone could choose to join the club they liked. These clubs in universities, to put it nicely, were places where everyone could learn and enjoy together. To put it bluntly, they were places where everyone recognized their relationship and made boyfriends and girlfriends. Martial arts club? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows and asked. Yes. The boy saw that Yun Jian was interested. He looked at Yun Jian's beautiful face and perfect figure and introduced more enthusiastically. Join our martial arts club. In the University of Rivertown, our martial arts club will protect you. Little girl, don't hesitate. Join our martial arts club. I can join if you want. Yun Jian pursed her lips and said. When the boy heard this, he became more enthusiastic. However, just as the boy was about to speak again, Yun Jian's quiet voice sounded. This voice sounded in front of the group of boys, who were desperately trying to invite Yun Jian to join the martial arts club. They wanted to take the opportunity to take advantage of Yun Jian, as well as the people from other clubs. Ask the president of your martial arts club to give me the position of president. Then I will join. A. Chapter 1963. So arrogant. This freshman is so arrogant. Does she know what she's saying? When everyone present heard Yunjian's words, their faces all changed. Especially the boy who just shouted that he wanted to recruit Yunjian into his martial arts club. The corner of his mouth twitched fiercely, and his face changed dramatically. Of course, the people around just changed their faces and didn't say much. At this time, a third-year senior in the martial arts club couldn't stand Yunjian's words. This senior originally didn't like Yunjian. After hearing Yunjian's words, she aggressively sneered at Yunjian. Do you know what you're saying? You're just a freshman, and you want to steal the position of the president of our martial arts club? Who do you think you are? The president of our martial arts club is a 9th-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He has won the first prize in Ja Province's provincial competitions in Judo and Sanda. His martial arts are guided by a famous teacher, and he has reached the peak of perfection. And you're just a freshman. What qualifications do you have to stand here and talk about the position of the president of our martial arts club? Newcomer, let me tell you, don't think that you can ascend to the sky just because you have a few beauties. Be careful, or I'll find someone to kill you. This senior was called Kai Huiling. She was a third-year student. She joined the martial arts club because of the president of the martial arts club. Everyone knew that the president of the martial arts club, Mo Buffon, was handsome and had a high level of martial arts. He was also a 9th-degree black belt master in Taekwondo. He also learned Judo and Sanda and won the first prize in the provincial level. Mo Buffon's family background wasn't bad. Such a man was simply the ideal partner in the hearts of all the girls. The reason why so many girls signed up for the martial arts club was because of Mo Buffon. Kai Huiling had been in the martial arts club for a long time. Her goal was naturally Mo Buffon. Originally, she saw that the other boy named Zhou Huntao wanted to pull Yunjian into the martial arts club. Seeing that Yunjian was so beautiful, Kai Huiling was unwilling. What if Yunjian entered the club and stole the president of their martial arts club? Now that she heard Yunjian say something like that, Kai Huiling directly used the skills of several powerful friends she knew in the underworld to threaten Yunjian. If it was said that young girls who liked to mess around liked to say that they knew a certain gangster and felt that it was very amazing to have a backer to back them up, then in university, this kind of girl would carry this style to the climax. Moreover, in school the girls did not have a wide range of knowledge. Take Kai Huiling for example. She had always thought that the more gangsters she knew, the more accomplished she would feel when she stood with the other girls. After Kai Huiling said this, she was waiting to see Yunjian apologize to her in a hurry. At this moment, Kai Huiling saw Zhu Huili, who was standing next to Yunjian, tugging at the corner of Yunjian's clothes and whispering to Yunjian. Yunjian, you know what to do. Yunjian, let's not talk about this anymore. I heard that this third-year senior has connections outside. When the time comes, we'll be done with you. Zhu Huili had good intentions. She was afraid that Yunjian would get into trouble. In university, it was better for people who did not have absolute ability to keep a low profile. After hearing Zhu Huili's words, Kai Huiling sneered. Then, she stood in front of Zhu Huili, stretched out her hand, and pushed Zhu Huili hard. Zhu Huili's body was already round. Now that she was pushed by Kai Huiling, her whole body rolled on the ground. She raised her hand in embarrassment and covered her abdomen. She was in so much pain that she could not control herself. Ha ha ha. When the surrounding people saw that Zhu Huili was pushed by Kai Huiling without any warning, they all laughed loudly. No one wanted to help Zhu Huili up. This was a world where looks mattered. Zhu Huili was not good looking and had a round body. She could only be treated as a joke by others. She is as fat as a ball. She is so *king disgusting. Why would such a disgusting person come to our university to study? A boy pointed at Zhu Huili, who was rolling on the ground after being pushed by Kai Huiling, and loudly ridiculed her. That's right. She's so *king disgusting. I'm going to throw up. The surrounding people were afraid that the matter was not big enough, so they all started to complain. Originally, This matter had nothing to do with Zhu Huili. However, at this moment, everyone present was using Zhu Huili as a joke and mocking and ridiculing her. Zhu Huili, who was thrown to the ground, seemed to be used to this kind of life. After she got up from the ground in embarrassment, she wiped the scratches on her face that Kai Huiling had just pushed her to the ground. Seeing that the surrounding people were laughing because of her action of pushing Zhu Huili, Kai Huiling felt a sense of accomplishment. However, just as Kai Huiling turned her head to look at Yun Jian, hoping to see a look of panic and fear on Yun Jian's face, Yun Jian had already picked up Zhu Huili. She walked up to Kai Huiling in 2 or 3 steps and kicked Kai Huiling to the ground in front of everyone. When the surrounding people saw this, their mocking and ridiculing expressions instantly froze. As if that was not enough, Yun Jian stomped on Kai Huiling's abdomen after kicking her to the ground and uttered the word coldly. It reached Kai Huiling's ears in front of everyone. There was no joy or sorrow in her voice, but it was enough to send chills down one's spine. Apologize. A. Chapter 1964. Yun Jian's voice was flat and monotonous, as if the person under her foot was not a human, but an ant. Stomped to the ground, Kai Huiling struggled to no avail. She began to yell at Yun Jian like a madwoman. What the hell are you doing? Who do you think you are? Get lost. Get lost. Otherwise, I'll make you regret living in this world. Being stepped on by Yun Jian in front of so many classmates, especially in front of so many boys, Kai Huiling was on the verge of breaking down. Girls like Kai Huiling were very arrogant in front of other girls. But in front of boys, they especially liked to put on airs to protect their own face. Today, Yun Jian stepped on her in front of so many people. Kai Huiling felt that her dignity was severely suppressed. At this moment, she wished she could stab Yun Jian to death. Everyone around was shocked by Yun Jian's actions, especially Zhou Huntao, who stopped Yun Jian in the beginning and wanted to pull Yun Jian into his martial arts club. This young girl actually had such clean and nimble skills. You actually dared to hit Sister Huiling. You even dared to ask Sister Huiling to apologize. Do you know who Sister Huiling is? She's standing not far away. A girl who was quite afraid of Yun Jian, but was obviously Kai Huiling's little follower, shouted at Yun Jian. However, before this clamor ended, Yun Jian interrupted her, and her cold voice resounded through the crowd. Not only her, I want all of you who mocked her to apologize. She was naturally referring to Zhu Huili. When Zhu Huili was pushed to the ground, the first reaction of the surrounding people was not to help her, but to ridicule her. In this world, could it be that ugly people deserve to suffer like this? You're crazy. You actually want us to apologize to this fat woman? A boy heard Yun Jian's words and pointed at Zhu Huili in disbelief. That's right, why should we apologize? She was so ugly in front of us just now. She caused us to lose our appetite for dinner. She should be the one apologizing. That's right. 2 boys who were good friends with Kai Huiling in the martial arts club agreed. Although Yun Jian was beautiful, these boys were familiar with Kai Huiling. Seeing that Yun Jian was stepping on Kai Huiling, they didn't dare to come forward to help Kai Huiling. But they naturally had to help Kai Huiling. However, just as the 2 boys finished speaking, Yun Jian, who was stepping on Kai Huiling's abdomen, glanced sideways and sized up the crowd with her sharp eyes. She sneered. Do you want to know why you should apologize? Being stared at by Yun Jian's beautiful face, the 2 boys couldn't help but nod their heads. What are you guys talking about? Hurry up and help me pull her away. Kai Huiling shouted at this time. However, just as Kai Huiling finished shouting, a butterfly knife that no one knew when it appeared fell from Yun Jian's hand. It actually slashed across Kai Huiling's cheek and stabbed into the ground. At this time, the blade of the butterfly knife was already in front of Kai Huiling's eyes. Kai Huiling was so frightened by this scene that she screamed on the spot. At the same time, Yun Jian released the foot that was stepping on Kai Huiling. Her figure flashed in an instant, and at a speed that everyone could clearly see, she kicked the 2 boys who were resisting just now to the ground. Yun Jian didn't use any amazing skills, but even so, it gave everyone present a great shock. Damn, that's amazing. Even Zhou Huntao, who was a member of the martial arts club, couldn't help but exclaim. By the time everyone reacted, the two boys who refuted Yin Jian had already flown 3 meters away. Everyone was terrified. However, they didn't know that this was the result of Yin Jian being merciful. Just as everyone was shocked by Yin Jian's frightening skills, they heard Yin Jian's cold and indifferent words. After the surrounding students heard this, their hearts trembled fiercely. "You're nothing but scum who can't even fight back against me. So apologize to me." Chapter 1965. In the hands of this group of people, Zhu Huili could be considered as someone who had no strength to even truss a chicken. Therefore, when Zhu Huili was pushed to the ground, not only did no one sympathize with her, but they even laughed at her and taunted her. Yin Jian gave them a taste of their own medicine. Zhu Huili was not as good as them, so they mocked Zhu Huili. She wanted them to experience the feeling of being bullied, even though they were not as good as others. Seeing that Yin Jian did not hesitate to provoke these gangsters for her sake, Zhu Huili was so grateful that she did not know how to describe it. No one had ever treated her so well. Even her parents despised her. Even before this, no one was willing to play with her. Originally, Zhu Huili was very lucky to be able to make a friend like Yin Jian. However, Zhu Huili did not expect that Yin Jian would go to this extent for her. At this moment, she could not describe her feelings with words. This girl must be a martial artist. The two boys who were kicked to the ground by Yin Jian could not even stand up. They were also members of the martial arts club, but they could not even withstand one move from Yin Jian. At this moment, after they stood up, they looked at Yin Jian with a completely different expression. "I apologize. I apologize. It's my fault." After one of the boys stood up, he took the lead to apologize to Yin Jian in a trembling voice. When the surrounding people who had mocked Zhu Huili saw this, they also began to apologize. Without a doubt, Yin Jian's move had frightened them. After hearing the group of people who had mocked Zhu Huili apologize, Yin Jian did not bother to pay attention to them. She waved at Zhu Huili and walked towards the cafeteria. She was hungry. It was time to eat. "Classmate, you are so good at martial arts. Please join the martial arts club." Zhou Huntao originally wanted to tease Yin Jian and ask her to join the martial arts club. Now that he saw Yin Jian's skills, he looked in the direction where Yin Jian left and shouted sincerely. However, Yin Jian disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. University courses were different from junior high school and high school. The location of university classes could change at any time, and there were at most 2 classes a day. As long as you arrived at the designated classroom before class started, you would be fine. Furthermore, the teacher would call out the students' names before class started. The students who arrived at the classroom had to say here. Of course, if the teacher was confused, they could ask their friends to call out for them. The teacher wouldn't notice. Because there were no fixed classrooms in the university, students spent most of their time in the dormitory. Therefore, when Yin Jian arrived at the university, the first place she went to was the dormitory. It was already dinner time. By the time Yin Jian and Zhu Huili finished dinner in the cafeteria, it was already 6 o'clock. Today was the 18th of September. After Yin Jian returned to Longmen City, she stayed in the city for almost 3 days before coming to the university. The weather in September was still hot and humid, so it was not particularly dark at 6 o'clock in the evening. "Let's go to the self-study room to practice how to operate the computer tonight?" Zhu Huili suggested. Yin Jian nodded. There were many self-study rooms in the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. Other than the regular ones, many of them were equipped with computers. After all, the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China's name alone indicated that the majority of students here majored in computer science. Yin Jian and Zhu Huili majored in computer science. Therefore, Zhu Huili came from the self-study room to practice how to operate the computer. Chapter 1966. In this era, most people didn't have a computer at home, let alone a laptop. Zhu Huili had just entered university, so he didn't even know how to turn on and off a computer. This wasn't surprising. Most of the freshmen majoring in computer science were new to computers. When Yun Jian and Zhu Huili arrived at the self-study room, they saw a group of people crowding around a computer table. Yun Jian's eyes moved slightly. Suddenly, she saw two familiar figures in the group of people. The two familiar silhouettes were Yun Jian's other two roommates from the same dorm. The two of them didn't greet Yun Jian at all. The two girls were called Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan. At this time, Yun Jian saw Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan crowding around the computer table with the crowd. They were shouting with the surrounding girls. "Brother Kai, this foreigner is amazing. This is the first time we've seen a hacker. People like us who haven't even learned how to turn on and off a computer. The first time I saw this foreigner's operation, it was amazing." On the other side, Miao Li was using a fawning tone to flatter an average-looking but very rich boy who was decked out in gold and silver from head to toe. In the middle of the group of people, a foreigner who could only speak a few sentences with poor pronunciation was skillfully operating a computer. This was the foreigner who knew how to hack. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. "Of course, this is my dad's friend. His hacking skills are top-notch. He's now working in the technology department of Rongyao Company, one of the top 10 international corporations. I'm now learning hacking skills from him. This level of operation is something you'll never encounter in your lifetime." The guy who was called Brother Kai said arrogantly. Immediately, some girls echoed Brother Kai's words. "Wow, he's amazing. As expected of Brother Kai, he's amazing." The foreigner who was operating the computer seemed to be very proud of himself. Yun Jian felt that this person was very familiar. When Yun Jian saw the side of the foreigner's face, her face darkened and she suddenly said, "Matthew, why are you here, old man?" Yun Jian's words came out of nowhere, but in the ears of everyone present, they were momentarily dazed. Who was Matthew? It was obvious that the people present did not know the foreigner's name. "Who are you? What are you mumbling about? Can't you see that the hacker master is showing us his hacking skills?" A girl heard Yun Jian's words and glared at Yun Jian. Who's calling my name?" However, the foreigner on the other side of the phone said something in Chinese that was not standard. He did not turn around, his eyes staring at the computer. "Open your dog eyes and see who I am. Why are you here?" Yun Jian spoke again in front of everyone. "Where did you come from? Were they here to cause trouble? If you keep yelling, get out of my sight." The girl who had been yelled at Yun Jian angrily after hearing her words. However, the foreigner had already turned his head around. The moment the foreigner saw Yun Jian clearly, he suddenly slipped from his seat and fell to the ground awkwardly. Then, the foreigner looked at Yun Jian in front of everyone and spoke to her in a tone that sounded like he had lost his life. "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Oh my God, why are you here, madam? Oh my God. Was it easy for him to come to Z country to show off his hacking skills? Did he have to be so scary? Who did he see? He actually saw the chairman of his own company. In this world, computer hacking skills are the most awesome. Once, with the power of one person, in just a few minutes, he broke through the armed system of a large country. In the end, that country sent a text message to her requesting to withdraw the attack on their system. Unprecedented, the strongest hacker king S.S.A. Chapter 1967. Matthew was not only the head of the technical department of Rongyao Company, but he was also one of the Siren's most capable subordinates. In fact, Matthew was very capable. Anyone who could be recruited into the technical department of Rongyao Company was naturally skilled in computer hacking. For a large company, its technical department must set up a defense system that could not be broken into by other hackers. Otherwise, if the company's money could be easily stolen, how could it make money? As the head of the technical department of Rongyao Company, Matthew indeed had amazing strength. Even in the hacker circle, Matthew's strength was one of the best. That was in the normal hacker circle, where Matthew's strength was very strong. But compared with Yun Jian, the gap between Matthew and Yun Jian was huge. 3 years ago, Yun Jian breached the enhanced defense system set up by Matthew and other members of the technical department in 30 seconds, stole $100 million from it, and directly erased the traces of Matthew and others following her through the firewall. Matthew led a group of technical department backbones to fight against Yun Jian. But they were no match for Yun Jian, let alone Matthew alone. At that time, the company's defense system was breached and $100 million was stolen. Matthew and his group were scared half to death. Where did this person with such amazing hacking skills come from? Until later the siren found Matthew. Matthew would never forget the siren's words at that time. She said, "You don't have to recover the $100 million stolen from the company. SS took it because she was short of money." It was undeniable that Matthew, who heard the siren's words, almost vomited blood. In addition to refreshing his understanding of Yun Jian's ability, Matthew also deeply realized that their chairman had nothing to do and no money to spend. So pretending to be a hacker made them panic. Since then, every time Matthew saw Yun Jian, he had an indescribable fear. "Didn't I come to Z country to find you? I have a few questions that I would like to ask you, so I came all the way here." Matthew immediately defended himself. God, he didn't want to be fired by Rongyao Company. The salary he got from working in Rongyao Company for a year was enough for him to travel around the world. Just as Matthew finished his explanation, he shuddered under Yun Jian's stare. Swallowing hard, he added, "That's right, Mr. Yun. It's just on the way. I didn't expect you to be here." Matthew had come to Z country to seek advice from Yun Jian on how to better operate the new defense system. He had come to the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China purely to show off. Matthew was strong and capable. He could set up a defense system that ordinary people could not break through. But Matthew liked to show off. Matthew owed Brother Kai's father a favor, so he came to the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China with the excuse of teaching Brother Kai and the others some simple computer operations. In fact, Matthew had come purely to show off at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China before going to Longmen City to look for Yun Jian. Computers had yet to be popularized in 2001. There were only a handful of computers in the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China in the entire Zhe province. It was a coincidence that Yun Jian could meet Matthew here, but it could also be considered Matthew's bad luck. Yun Jian did not expose Matthew's words. It was just that the people around them were baffled by the conversation between Yun Jian and Matthew, unable to react for a long time. The girl who had insulted Yun Jian just now, in particular, had the most expression on her face. It was obvious that Yun Jian and Matthew knew each other, so the smart ones chose to keep quiet. In spite of this, there were still a few dumber girls in the group. Seeing that Yun Jian had ignored Brother Kai just now, these girls fought to speak to Yun Jian when the air had quieted down. "Do you know who Brother Kai is? How dare you ignore Brother Kai? Do you believe that Brother Kai can expel you on behalf of the University of Rivertown's Chancellor?" Brother Kai was indeed capable of doing so if it was someone else, but not Yun Jian. Before Yun Jian could say anything, Matthew had already reacted. He pointed at Yun Jian and retorted in Chinese with poor pronunciation. His voice was so loud that it shocked the girls and the people around them. "Expel her? Who among you has the ability to do so? Do you know who she is? She's a..." Chapter 1968. She was the chairman of Rongyao Company. She was the best hacker in the hacker circle, SS. It was not an exaggeration to say that her achievements could last for 3 days and 3 nights. She was the first in history. She broke records and created miracles. She was the only one who had a brilliant record. No one could surpass her achievements. And this group of stupid people actually thought that a mere student at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China was arrogant? Brother Kai, who was worshipped by all the girls as invincible in the world, could do anything to her? But Matthew did not dare to say these words, because he had already caught a glimpse of Yun Jian's sidelong glance. Seeing this, Matthew was stunned. "Go away. What do you girls know? What are you talking about? Master Matthew is now my master. Master Matthew's friends are my friends. If you dare to talk back, I'll make sure you can't survive in the university." Before Matthew could speak, Brother Kai threatened the group of girls around him. He turned his head and looked at Matthew with a flattering look. Then he smiled at Yun Jian. Brother Kai was a real rich second generation. His family was rich. But he really admired Matthew from the bottom of his heart. That was why he spoke up for Matthew at this moment. They even thought that Yun Jian and Ma Xiao were friends and helped her. After saying that, Brother Kai felt that he had shown off enough with Matthew. So he looked at Matthew and Yun Jian and invited, "Let's go to the bar tonight. I'll treat you guys to a bar tonight. Since you're Matthew's friend, come along. I'll pay for all the expenses." Brother Kai was different from the group of girls around him. He did not beat around the bush. He always meant what he said and did. Perhaps this was the privilege of the rich second generation. Brother Kai, like Matthew, loved to show off. But apart from this, the biggest difference between Brother Kai and other rich second generations, or people who thought they were powerful, was that he would not look down on others. Seeing that Zhu Huili and Yun Jian came together, Brother Kai did not dislike Zhu Huili because she was fat and ugly. On the contrary, Brother Kai glanced at Zhu Huili lazily and said to Zhu Huili, "You're her friend, right? Then come along. See you at the swing bar near the school at 8 o'clock in the evening." As soon as Brother Kai said this, everyone around him was shocked. Brother Kai was not handsome. Usually, these girls would squeeze to Brother Kai's side because they fancied Brother Kai's wealth. It was not surprising that Brother Kai could invite Yun Jian. But today, why did he invite Zhu Huili, a fat and ugly girl? Zhu Huili, who stood beside Yun, was dumbfounded. Originally, a girl like Zhu Huili would never interact with Brother Kai and his group in her entire life. Of all days, Brother Kai's life, Brother Kai's life, Brother Kai's life. "See you at the bar," Yun Jian said after a glance at Matthew. Since Matthew had something to ask her, it had to be said in private. Since Brother Kai had offered to treat everyone to a bar, it was much more convenient for Yun Jian and Matthew to have a private conversation. "Okay." Matthew nodded. With that, Yun Jian left the self-study room with Zhu Huili. When they left, Zhu Huili asked Yun Jian in a daze, "Aren't we going to practice operating the computer? There are too many people. It's too noisy." Yun Jian replied Zhu Huili indifferently. Yun Jian paused for a moment. Then, she continued to reply to Zhu Huili, "If you want to learn how to operate the computer, I promise I'll teach you another day." "Oh, Yun Jian, you know how to operate the computer? That's great. Then I'm counting on you." Zhu Huili looked at Yun Jian with admiration. The two of them walked back to the dormitory. As soon as Yun Jian and Zhu Huili entered the dormitory, their other two roommates, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan, returned to the dormitory. As soon as they returned to the dormitory, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan surrounded Yun Jian and questioned her like gangsters. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan didn't even greet each other when they met for the first time. Now Miao Li, who had a better figure, asked Yun Jian. She sounded like a gangster, as if Yun Jian would be beaten if she didn't answer seriously. "Hey, how do you know the foreigner beside Brother Kai?" "Hey." Chapter 1969. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were good friends. Their grades were about the same. In this era, the cutoff score for computer science was not high. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan had passed the entrance exam together. It was said that you would become like the people you hung out with. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were the kind of people who hung out with boys every day. They would introduce each other to each other. If they liked each other, they would fall in love with each other. They would often gossip about who was with whom and who broke up with whom. There were even girls who would say dirty things when they hung out with boys. The scariest thing was that Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan smoked. When Yun Jian first came to the dormitory, she saw several cigarette butts beside Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan's seats. Obviously, they were the ones who smoked. It was not impossible to smoke. No one could stop one from getting addicted to smoking. However, smoking indoors would not only harm oneself, but also others. If others smoked indoors and you breathed in the smoke, you would be inhaling secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke was more likely to cause cancer than smoking by yourself. It would bring serious danger to others' lives. If you got cancer, you would definitely die. There was no cure in this world. Therefore, even if you wanted to smoke, you had to smoke outside. At least, you could not harm others. However, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan did not care about this at all. When Yun Jian and Zhu Huili were in the dormitory, they smoked one cigarette after another. After surrounding Yun Jian, Miaoli lit another cigarette. She crossed her arms and looked at Yun Jian like a gangster. Yun Jian, who was standing in front of them, ignored Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan. She walked past them and went to her bed. Hey, I'm asking you a question. Miao Li shouted angrily. She immediately put out the cigarette in her hand and rushed to Yun Jian to stop Yun Jian again. I'm asking you how you know the foreigners around Brother Kai. Are you deaf or something? Can't you reply if you hear me? Miao Li said confidently. Zhu Huili was stunned. She quickly ran over to Miao Li and shielded Yun Jian. She said to Miao Li, "What do you want? We don't want to do anything. Look carefully. She was the one who ignored me just now." Miao Li moved her body as she spoke, speaking boldly. She was so arrogant, as if Yun Jian was the one in the wrong. "Get out of my way," Yun Jian suddenly said coldly. Miao Li, who had just spoken confidently to Zhu Huili, heard Yun Jian say, "Get out of my way." She felt like she was being ignored. Girls like Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan tended to overthink things. Yun Jian's "get out of my way" sounded like sarcasm to them. "What did you say? You want us to get out of your way?" Miao Li stared at Yun Jian. She was furious. "Xiujuan, this newcomer is too shameless. Let's teach her a lesson. Let's see if she still dares to be arrogant," Miao Li said to Shi Xiujuan. After that, the two girls rushed to Yun Jian and tried to suppress Yun Jian. "Stop it." Zhu Huili's round body was not agile. However, she still stood in front of Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan to stop them from attacking Yun Jian. However, just as Zhu Huili stood in front of Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan, Yun Jian pulled her away. Then, she did not give Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan any chance to react. Zhu Huili did not even see when Yun Jian made her move. Yun Jian had already kicked Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan to the ground. When Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan realized what had happened, they were as shocked as Zhu Huili. At this moment, Yun Jian's calm voice sounded. Her words were enough to make the three of them gasp. "I'm sorry. I studied in a military school in high school. I used to be in the special forces. Fists and kicks have no eyes. It was purely an accident that I accidentally sent you to the hospital." Hey! Chapter 1970. She studied in a military school in high school? She was a special forces soldier? Yun Jian's words were transmitted to Zhu Huili, Miao Li, and Shi Xiujuan's ears. The three of them were instantly dumbfounded. Yun Jian's words were flat and monotonous, but the meaning behind her words shocked the three of them, especially Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan. At this moment, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan had been kicked to the ground by Yun Jian. They were in so much pain that they couldn't stand up for a while. The two of them didn't know that Yun Jian hadn't used all her strength. If Yun Jian had really hit them, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan would probably have been sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. The moment they were kicked to the ground, the two of them wanted to stand up and fight Yun Jian like crazy. However, when they suddenly heard Yun Jian's words, the two of them fell to the ground and were stunned. "You studied in a military school in high school? Aren't most of the students in military schools boys? How could a girl like you study in a military school?" Miao Li had forgotten about the pain from Yun Jian's kick. After hearing Yun Jian's words, she was stunned. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were typical snobs. Just now, the two of them surrounded Yun Jian like gangsters and said, "You're not convinced? I'll beat you until you're convinced." Now that they heard that Yun Jian was actually a special forces soldier in a military school, the two of them were instantly filled with respect. They no longer acted like they didn't see Yun Jian when they first met Yun Jian. When Miao Li asked Yun Jian again, her voice softened and her attitude changed drastically. This time, Yun Jian directly flipped over and climbed onto her upper bunk bed. Her movements were clean and neat, completely ignoring Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan. Yun Jian, who was lying on the bed, closed her eyes and ignored him. Seeing this, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were displeased. However, after hearing that Yun Jian seemed to be someone important, they didn't dare to say anything and returned to their own beds. It was almost 7 o'clock in the evening when Yun Jian and Zhu Huili returned to the dormitory. They had agreed to meet at the swing bar at 8 o'clock. Yun Jian lay on the bed and closed her eyes for an hour before she turned over and got down from the top bunk. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan swallowed their saliva and remained silent. Yun Jian, no wonder you were so good before. You went to military school. Zhu Huili couldn't help but praise Yun Jian when he saw that she had rested well on the bed. When Zhu Huili said that Yun Jian was so good before, he was naturally referring to the recruitment of new members at the entrance of the cafeteria. Okay, let's go. Yun Jian lazily put her hands into her trouser pockets and said to Zhu Huili. Earlier in the self-study room, Brother Kai had invited many girls to the swing bar to have fun. Among them, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan had also been chosen. At this moment, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were carefully dressing up. They put on foundation, makeup, and changed into sexier clothes. At first glance, it was obvious that they were preparing for a long battle to attract the attention of the boys. Yun Jian wore the same clothes during the day. At this moment, she beckoned to Zhu Huili and walked out. It was a September night, and the weather was still a little stuffy. Walking outside, one could feel the scorching summer heat. Zhu Huili didn't dress up. She knew that it didn't make a difference whether she dressed up or not. Her obesity determined her appearance. At night, it was common to bump into couples by the roadside of the university. Seeing this, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. This clearly showed that life in the university was very leisurely and carefree. However, she would bid farewell to this carefree life and return to the world of bloodshed. The University of Rivertown was just a turning point. When she passed by a very bright street lamp, she suddenly heard a surprised voice behind her. It's you. It's you. Junior, wait up. Hearing this voice, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes slightly and looked out of the corner of her eye. She saw the few members of the martial arts club that she met at the entrance of the cafeteria in the afternoon. They were led by Zhou Huntao, and they were walking towards her. Zhou Huntao was the boy who first threw a football to Yun Jian in the afternoon and wanted to recruit Yun Jian into the martial arts club. He was also a senior in his third year. In the afternoon, he really wanted to flirt with Yun Jian. However, after seeing Yun Jian's sharp skills, his desire to invite Yun Jian to join the martial arts club became stronger. When he saw the familiar figure, he took a closer look and realized that it was Yun Jian. Zhou Huntao led the group of members of the martial arts club and walked towards her quickly. Chapter 1971. Zhou Huntao was accompanied by members of the martial arts club. Just as he led them to Yun Jian, he chuckled at her and said, Hey Yun Jian. Junior, I didn't expect to meet you here. It's really fate. Yun Jian glanced sideways and didn't see Kai Huiling, who had attacked Zhu Huili in the afternoon. She must have lost her face in front of everyone and didn't dare to come out. Zhou Huntao didn't care if Yun Jian was willing to talk to him or not. He also didn't care about what happened in the afternoon. Instead, he pulled a tall, handsome, and very handsome boy to Yun Jian. After greeting her, Zhou Huntao pointed at the tall, handsome, and very handsome boy in his early 20s and introduced him to Yun Jian. Junior, this is the president of our martial arts club, Mo Bufan. Our martial arts club sincerely invites you to join us. I hope you can seriously consider it. As he spoke, Zhou Huntao pushed Mo Bufan. Obviously, he wanted Mo Bufan, the president of the martial arts club, to personally invite Yun Jian to join their martial arts club. Before this, Zhou Huntao must have exaggerated to Mo Bufan about Yun Jian's skills at the entrance of the cafeteria in the afternoon. Mo Bufan had a handsome face and a strong body. Just by looking at him, one could feel that he was indeed an expert in martial arts. In addition, Mo Bufan had amazing results in the past. He had won the first prize of the provincial level in Taekwondo, Judo and Sanda. Also, Mo Bufan's family background was outstanding. Such a boy was simply the ideal partner in the hearts of all the girls. The group of girls standing around were obviously members of the martial arts club. The members of the martial arts club at the University of Rivertown were very popular because of the president, Mo Bufan. Mo Bufan was pushed towards Yun Jian by Zhou Huntao. He scratched his head and looked at Yun Jian. He introduced himself in a very gentlemanly manner. Hello, my name is Emo Buffon. I'm the president of the Martial Arts Club. The facts proved that Emo Buffon had a great reputation in the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. He was acknowledged as the campus hunk of the University of Jiang City. After Emo Buffon introduced himself to Yun Jian, the girls from the Martial Arts Club, who were passing by or standing around, all screamed. Wow, the president actually took the initiative to talk to that girl. I've never seen the president take the initiative to talk to a girl before. A female member of the Martial Arts Club exclaimed. Look, that's Emo Buffon. It really was Emo Buffon. He's the school hunk of our school. So handsome. He seems to be talking to that girl. Who is that girl? She's so lucky. Seeing Emo Buffon greet Yun Jian, the surrounding girls screamed. All of them were envious of Yun Jian. However, just when the girls thought that Yun Jian would faint from excitement after Emo Buffon took the initiative to talk to her, they saw Yun Jian expressionlessly glancing at Emo Buffon and coldly saying, "What's up?" Her tone was flat and monotonous. Even Emo Buffon blinked in surprise when he heard Yun Jian's words. He paused for a moment before continuing. I heard that you're very skilled. I would like to invite you to join us on behalf of the Martial Arts Club. I've said it before. I'll join if the president position is given to me. Otherwise, there's no need to talk about it. After Yun Jian finished speaking, she didn't even look at Emo Buffon. She beckoned Zhu Huili to walk around Emo Buffon and his group, and was about to walk forward. At this moment, Yun Jian and her group were in a dark corner. There weren't many people walking around here. Occasionally, there would be young couples passing by, but there were very few of them. Seeing Yun Jian walk around Emo Buffon, and was about to walk forward, a girl shouted at Yun Jian, Hey, don't be unappreciative. Emo Buffon personally invited you to join the club, but you don't appreciate it. The girl had just shouted at Yun Jian's back when she saw Yun Jian stop in front of everyone, as if she had discovered something. Then, Yun Jian turned around and squatted down beside a hidden bush under everyone's eyes. She carefully observed for 2 seconds. Damn, this girl definitely wants to attract the president's attention. That's why she's playing hard to get. Scheming B*****, so F** king disgusting. Seeing this, a few girls from the martial arts club in the distance looked at Yun Jian with disgust, and shouted in front of Yun Jian. On the other hand, Yun Jian did not pay any attention to the girls. She suddenly smelled a familiar smell, and squatted down to observe the ground for 2 seconds. There was a lot of gunpowder smell on the ground, and this gunpowder smell wasn't left behind after ordinary items like firecrackers were set off. The smell of gunpowder could only mean one thing. There must have been a gunfight nearby. Chapter 1972. There were many affiliated universities near the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, such as Jiangqing Normal University, Jiangqing Medical College, and so on. The University of Electronic Science and Technology of China was just one of the many universities. The area near Jiangqing was a university town. That was to say, there were more than a dozen closely connected universities nearby. The more universities near the university town, the more students there would be. With more students, the expenses of the students would also increase. The economic development here would also be fast. Therefore, in this area, the economic development was very good, and the city's jurisdiction was also very good. And there was a gunfight nearby, which meant that Yun Jian didn't think much about it. Emo Buffon walked over and asked her again in a gentlemanly tone, Junior, what's wrong with you? At this time, Yun Jian had already stood up. Yun Jian, is there something on the ground? Zhu Huili also came over to take a look and asked in confusion. What can there be? Maybe she just wants to attract our president's attention. As soon as Zhu Huili finished speaking, a girl said coldly, That's right. She even wants to take the position of president of our martial arts club. Can she afford it? It's not like he's that good. What's there to be proud of? Another girl added. Stop talking. Emo Buffon listened to these girls chattering endlessly and felt irritated enough. He knitted his brows and stopped these girls from chattering. After a pause, Emo Bufon turned to look at Yun Jian and spoke to her as well as everyone else around them. You're the only one who's going to die. I took the position of president of the martial arts club because I want to lead everyone and make the martial arts club develop better. If you can take the position of president, or if anyone here can take the position of president, I, Emo Bufon, can give up the position of president of the martial arts club to you. Of course, the premise of all this is that the martial arts club must be better in your hands than in my hands. Emo Bufon focused on martial arts. After going to university, he opened the martial arts club. He didn't want to develop the martial arts club into an intermediary for boys and girls to get to know each other. He wanted the martial arts club to flourish. The meaning of these words was very clear. If Yun Jian could bring out the strength, Emo Bufon would agree to Yun Jian's request and give her the position of president. That's what you said. Yun Jian's eyes suddenly narrowed. Her impression of this person called Emo Bufon instantly rose. The favorable impression here had nothing to do with the ambiguity between a man and a woman. It was purely a degree of appreciation for a person. Emo Bufon's group also wanted to go to the swing bar. Emo Bufon and Brother Kai were actually good brothers who grew up together. Yun Jian only found out about this after she walked into the large private room of the swing bar with a group of people. It was not hard to see that Emo Bufon's family background was good. Brother Kai's family background was so good that the gifts he usually gave girls were gold necklaces, silver rings, and other luxurious items. Emo Bufon and Brother Kai were good brothers who grew up together, so their family background naturally couldn't be bad. Birds of a feather flock together. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known each other since they were young. There were large private rooms in the swing bar, but the private rooms in the bar were more expensive. The private rooms were also equipped with karaoke equipment and facilities. As soon as Yun Jian, Emo Bufon, and the other members of the martial arts club entered the large private room, they heard Brother Kai and the others holding a microphone and singing crazily in front of the big screen of karaoke. The karaoke at that time was similar to the karaoke of today. The atmosphere in the room reached its climax. Everyone followed the beat and sang with Brother Kai. No one noticed Yun Jian. At this time, Yun Jian saw Ma Xiao in the corner. He put his notebook on his lap and waved to Yun Jian. Yun Jian walked over. "Boss, hurry up and teach me how to make the strongest new defense system." Ma Xiao seemed to have picked up a big opportunity. He handed his notebook to Yun Jian and looked at her expectantly. Yun Jian took Ma Xiao's notebook, paused, and then added, "I'll help you strengthen the defense system and deduct 3 months of your salary." After Yun Jian said that, Ma Xiao looked at Yun Jian in pain and begged, "Don't do that, boss. 3 months of salary, I'll have to eat the northwest wind. No hacker in the world can break the defense system I set up. Isn't it worth it to deduct 3 months of your salary?" Yun Jian glared at Ma Xiao. Okay. You're the boss. You have the final say." Ma Xiao covered his face and nodded. Yun Jian smiled and put her hands on the notebook keyboard. However, before Yun Jian could operate the brand new defense system that Matthew was halfway through setting up, a female voice rang out at the wrong time with deliberate words. "Hey, she knows how to operate a computer? Everyone look." The girl who spoke was called Lan Yi. Lan Yi was the one who insulted Yun Jian in the self-study room to please Brother Kai. Brother Kai warned Lan Yi because she insulted Yun Jian in the self-study room. Lan Yi was a very vengeful person, so she hated Yun Jian. Yun Jian walked to Ma Xiao's side and took the notebook from him. Lan Yi saw it. Yun Jian knows how to use a notebook? Lan Yi didn't believe it. At this time, Lan Yi was holding a microphone and singing with a boy. However, she stopped abruptly in the middle of her song and drew everyone's attention to Yun Jian with the microphone in her hand. Didn't she deliberately pretend to be very good in the self-study room? Fine, then I, Lan Yi, will let Yun Jian be good to the end. Chapter 1973. Lan Yi held the microphone and put her mouth to the microphone. Her voice was transmitted through the microphone to the speakers and amplified to the ears of everyone present. Therefore, no matter how loud the karaoke sound system was, no matter how noisy the people around were, they could still hear Lan Yi's words. At the same time, they looked at Yun Jian and Matthew, who had deliberately hidden themselves in the corner. Seeing that everyone had turned to look at Yun Jian and Matthew, Lan Yi smirked at Yun Jian, who was sitting in the corner. Lan Yi thought that Yun Jian knew Matthew, and wanted Matthew to secretly teach her how to use the computer. Then, she could show off her computer skills in front of everyone. Therefore, Lan Yi attracted everyone's attention to Yun Jian. She wanted to embarrass Yun Jian in front of everyone. It had to be said that Lan Yi's thoughts belonged to the mentality of a normal young girl. Young girls would always feel a little jealous when they saw girls who were more outstanding than them, or girls who were better than them. However, some girls would spread their jealousy, some would deliberately hurt others, and some would just silently hide their jealousy in their hearts. Lan Yi belonged to the kind of girl who was afraid of not causing enough trouble. Yun Jian didn't pay attention to her before, but Lan Yi thought that Yun Jian was indirectly provoking her. Without a doubt, Lan Yi's goal was achieved. Everyone turned to look at Yun Jian. Lan Yi's smile became even more obvious. Yun Jian had just put her hands on the laptop keyboard when she heard Lan Yi's words. Her eyes flashed sharply. The people around her had already turned to look at her. Wow, Junior! You just came to university and you already know how to use a computer. Amazing! Zhou Huntao was the first to walk over and look at Yun Jian. Most of the people present were computer science students. The freshmen who had just entered the university this semester were generally still practicing how to turn on and off a computer. Computers in this era had just started. In 2000, the electronic technology in Z country would soar at the speed of a rocket in a short period of time. Many of the students present had never touched a computer. Yun Jian was a freshman. Everyone thought that she had never touched a computer before. Some of the sophomores and juniors present had already taken computer classes and had a certain understanding of computers. Although they were not new to it, they did not have a deep understanding of it. Yun Jian, a freshman, actually knows how to use a laptop? When everyone saw this, they all turned to look at him. She's a busybody. You've been acting up since just now. I think she's trying to attract our president's attention. His trick of loosening the reins only to grasp them better is really impressive. The girl from the martial arts club who had met Yun Jian on the way couldn't help but say such harsh words. This girl is so annoying. Keep showing off. I feel like she doesn't have any ability at all. You only know how to put on an act. So annoying. Exactly. Yun Jian had previously made everyone feel that she was very strong, but they didn't know which part of her was strong. Because of this, she attracted the attention of Mo Bufan and Brother Kai, who were held at the peak by the girls. Therefore, the girls were jealous of Yun Jian. At this moment, they all started to grumble. Zhou Huntao, who heard this, also felt quite awkward. Mo Bufan frowned. He felt that girls shouldn't have such hostility towards other girls. Mo Bufan was just about to say something when he saw that Yun Jian didn't care about the girl's hostility towards her at all. She also didn't care that Lan Yi had attracted everyone's attention to her just now. Since she was seen, Yun Jian, who didn't want to be high profile, was helpless. She only smiled coldly. In the next second, in front of everyone, Yun Jian's slender fingers on the laptop keyboard started tapping. Everyone saw that on the laptop screen on Yun Jian's lap. A series of system programs that no one could understand started flashing at the speed of light. Yun Jian didn't even need to look at the keyboard to be able to feel the keys on the keyboard. This speed of operating a computer was something that couldn't be done without a few years of computer operating skills. Even if they didn't understand what Yun Jian was operating, when they saw this scene, everyone was slightly shocked and widened their eyes. She knows how to use a computer. Moreover, as a freshman, he could operate the computer so smoothly. Even the seniors in their third and fourth years, who had been learning how to operate computers for 3 to 4 years, couldn't do it. However, just as Lan Yi and the surrounding people were stunned, they saw Matthew, who was sitting next to Yun Jian, looking at the laptop screen excitedly. In front of everyone, he shouted at Yun Jian, "You're indeed a boss. Why didn't I think of it?" Using this set of procedures to set up the program is the most effective way to defend against other hackers' intrusion. Boss, you're too amazing. I'm sure that in this world, other than you, there are no hackers who can break through the defense system of our company's technical department. Haha. Boss, you're indeed the number one person in our hacker circle. Chapter 1974. Although Matthew was only in his 40s, being able to sit in the position of the head of the Rongyao Company's technical department at his age was already very impressive. Matthew's age and his current position could scare a large number of international elites to death. The temperament that Matthew exuded from his bones was that of an old urchin. Some people were still young, but their hearts were already old, and their actions were no different from that of an old urchin's. This was referring to Matthew. Although Matthew's strength could not be denied, his behavior was sometimes really out of his control. For example, just now, outsiders did not know what Yun Jian was doing. They only knew that Yun Jian's operation was particularly amazing. However, Matthew knew that Yun Jian was setting up the defense system of the Rongyao Company's technical department, and the defense system she set up had 0 loopholes. The possibility of outsiders finding a flaw in the defense system was equivalent to 0. This was simply a miracle in the world. At least, people like Matthew were completely shocked when they saw this. Matthew's temperament was like an old urchin's. When he saw such a scene, he would say all the words in his heart. As a matter of fact, Matthew, the fool, had shouted at Yun Jian in front of everyone in the room. Originally, Yun Jian's speed of operating the computer was so fast that it amazed everyone present. However, no one present knew what Yun Jian was doing. In the eyes of Lan Yi, Zhou Huntao, Mo Bufan, Brother Kai, and the others, the various programs flashing on the laptop screen were more like Yun Jian's random keys. However, this group of people were not experts and did not understand these, but Matthew did. With Matthew's roar, everyone understood what was going on. After hearing Matthew's words, everyone was in a trance for a moment and was stunned on the spot. Even the few boys who had been singing crazily and brought the atmosphere to the climax were dumbfounded and looked over in a daze. Only the accompaniment of the karaoke continued. At this moment, whether it was Lan Yi, Zhou Huntao, Mo Bufan, or Brother Kai, they were all stunned. Among them, Lan Yi's expression was the most prominent. She listened to Matthew's words in a daze and couldn't recover for a long time. Matthew actually called Yun Jian boss? Wasn't that the title of a certain company's CEO? And Yun Jian was setting up a defense system that could prevent other hackers from invading? Listen to what Matthew says. No one in this world could crack the defense system set up by Yun Jian? And Matthew said that Yun Jian was indeed the number one hacker in the hacker circle. Number one in the hacker circle? Brother Kai was particularly interested in this matter. Before the people around him could speak, Brother Kai had already looked at Matthew in astonishment and asked the doubts of the people around him. The number one person in the hacker circle. I remember that the most skilled hacker is a hacker with the code name SS. As soon as Brother Kai finished speaking, Mo Bufan, who was Brother Kai's brother, added a sentence. Most of the people present were computer science students, so they were naturally interested in hacking. The computer courses taught in school naturally wouldn't teach hackers how to hack others. Only some smart people would apply all their knowledge to hacking according to the computer courses they learned in school. Even so, it couldn't stop the level of interest of the people present in hacking. After hearing Mo Bufan's words, the surrounding people shifted their eyes to Yun Jian again. Wasn't the number one hacker in the hacker circle the person with the code name SS? Just now, Matthew actually called Yun Jian the number one hacker in the hacker circle. Could it be that Yun Jian was? Mo Fei was sitting in the corner. This beautiful girl was the number one hacker in the hacker circle. SS. Chapter 1975. Everyone was dumbfounded. They all stared at Yun Jian, not knowing what to do. This is impossible. Although there was no ranking in the hacker circle, everyone recognized the hacker named SS as the number one hacker in the circle. The hacker named SS is an international figure. Even if you want to invite SS for a meal, you won't be able to find SS unless you're an international figure. I've heard a lot of rumors about SS. It's because of SS that I came to the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China to study computer science. I know SS better than most of you. SS is impossible. It can't be her. Lan Yi was scared out of her wits. She pointed her finger at Yun Jian and shook her head in disbelief. Absolutely impossible. The SS that she worshipped was a legendary figure. She had a computer in her hands and could cause countless companies' technical departments to collapse at the same time. How could she be this freshman sitting in the corner? Moreover, it was Yun Jian that Lan Yi disliked. Matthew was a little unconvinced when he saw the looks of disbelief on everyone's faces. The chairman of the Rongyao company, the #1 hacker in the circle, was an international legend. How could it be impossible? However, Matthew realized that he had made a mistake in his words. Damn, he had almost exposed his boss's identity. If his boss's identity was exposed, Matthew felt that he would lose his position in the Rongyao company. Matthew was so scared that he quickly tried to cover up his lie. It was a slip of the tongue. It was a slip of the tongue. What #1 hacker? I just thought that she looked like the #1 hacker when she was operating the computer. Matthew broke out in cold sweat. Fortunately, Yun Jian was the #1 hacker in the circle. The fact that SS was SS sounded unreal and unrealistic to everyone present. Matthew's lie was immediately believed by everyone around him. Oh, I knew it. How could she be the #1 hacker in the circle? SS is my idol. How could she look like her? Lan Yi heaved a sigh of relief after hearing Matthew's words. She glanced at Yun Jian with envy. One had to admit that Yun Jian was a natural beauty. Her face without any makeup was mesmerizing. Her makeup so delicate that it was hard to take one's eyes off her. Yun Jian's natural beauty was different from the girls around her, who wore heavy makeup and sexy outfits, and were dressed similarly. Yun Jian's beauty could be easily recognized as her even if she was standing on the street hundreds of meters away. As for Lan Yi and the girls around her, they were all dressed up to the nines. To put it nicely, they were fashionable. To put it bluntly, they were all wearing makeup and dressed up. It was impossible to tell who was who. They did not have the slightest bit of uniqueness that belonged to them. It was fine if you were outstanding, but when you were outstanding to a certain extent, a realm that others could not reach, then you were finished, because you would become the public enemy. Yun Jian's beauty was something that all the girls wanted but could never achieve. Therefore, Lan Yi and the others didn't like Yun Jian, let alone Yun Jian who was so outstanding. However, Yun Jian didn't care about what the people around her were saying or doing. Her fingers nimbly operated on the keyboard of the laptop. The data of the defense system on the laptop screen was flashing at the speed of light, and it even made a DDD sound. After about 10 minutes of operation, Yun Jian closed the laptop and tossed it to Matthew, telling him openly in front of everyone, "I'm not going to lie. I have strengthened the defense system for you by 50 times. The system is complete. You can use it when you take it back. Remember to report to the finance department that you have deducted 3 months of salary. Don't feel like you've lost money. The market price of the simplest defense system I made is 100 million yuan. The one I made for you is an enhanced version. You should pay me. A. Chapter 1976. Everyone around was led by Lan Yi to look at Yun Jian. They had been discussing Yun Jian since the beginning. However, ever since Yun Jian put her hand on the laptop, she ignored Lan Yi and the others. She continued to do what she needed to do. She only spoke after she was done. Yun Jian was able to keep her composure. She was not influenced by Lan Yi and the others who had bad intentions. This made Mo Bufan look at her in a new light. At the same time, Mo Bufan's view of Yun Jian was also a little more appreciative. This girl was really suitable to be a leader. Perhaps if he handed the martial arts society over to her, he could really reach a level that he could never reach if he led the martial arts society. Mo Bufan's goal was to further develop the martial arts society. He did not care who was the president of the martial arts society. What he cared about was that the president of the Martial Arts Society could lead everyone to a higher and more outstanding place. Moreover, Mo Buffon's original intention was to carry forward the Martial Arts Society. Therefore, if there was such a person who could replace him to lead the Martial Arts Society to a higher position, then Mo Buffon was willing to give up his position as the president of the Martial Arts Society. Just now, Mo Buffon had sensed the aura of a leader from Yun Jian's aura. It was the air of a leader. Just as Mo Buffon was thinking of this, Lan Yi's surprised voice suddenly sounded again. What? The market price of the simplest defense system you made is 100 million? Are you kidding us? Lan Yi's words resounded throughout the audience. Hearing this, everyone present was in a trance for a moment. Are you serious? What kind of defense system can she make? Are you messing with us? And the market price of 100 million? I have never heard of it in Jiangcheng. Even the computer science professors in the school can't sell a defense system at a market price of 100 million. Don't tell me you're just bragging about it. Could it be that you are better than the teachers? As soon as Lan Yi finished speaking, a boy who was not handsome and did not have much of a presence, but liked to sit in the group of girls and say some dirty jokes to attract the attention of girls, stood up and looked at Yun Jian. He spoke with slight disdain. It was true that Yun Jian was beautiful, but no matter how beautiful she was, she couldn't make a living, right? Boys also wanted their own face. To a boy, a girl should be smart and beautiful, but if a girl was better than a boy one day, then no matter how beautiful the girl was, the boy would not be satisfied. Of course, not every boy was like this. But at least the boy who spoke up now felt that Yun Jian was too domineering. He couldn't stand it, so he retorted. Zhou, she is someone that Master Matthew knows. How can the teachers in the school compare with her? Brother Kai, who didn't say a word just now, suddenly spoke to the boy. Obviously, this boy's name was Zhou, and he usually hung out with Brother Kai and the others. To be honest, although Brother Kai was a rich second-generation heir, he was not very handsome. He was not very tall, but he was not short either. When necessary, Brother Kai would still stand up and say a few words of justice. This surprised Yun Jian. However, Yun Jian did not show her surprise on her face. Okay, let's sing. She is someone that Master Matthew knows. How can she be bad? Brother Kai waved to the crowd. After all, Brother Kai's family was rich, powerful, and influential. After listening to Brother Kai's words, the surrounding people obediently dispersed. Everyone continued to sing, drink, and eat desserts. They were having a lot of fun. It was as if the shock just now was just a farce. However, the crowd did not know that the real shock had not yet begun. In the corner, Matthew carefully put the notebook that Yun Jian returned to him back into the notebook bag. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him and Yun Jian, Matthew secretly said to Yun Jian, "Boss, our company's Fox recently came to Z country to look for you. I don't know why she came to look for you. At that time, she refused to come with me, saying that she disliked me because I looked stupid." Chapter 1977. Matthew scratched his head and frowned when he talked about the fox, saying that he was stupid. How was he dumb? Fox actually called him dumb. It was because of this reason that they had to come to Country Z to look for Yun Jian and part ways. Just as Matthew questioned Fox's comment about how he was dumb, Yun Jian suddenly smiled and chuckled faintly. Dumb indeed. Fox was telling the truth. What? Boss, Fox said I'm dumb, and you think I'm dumb too? Do you have to be so hurtful? My heart is broken by both of you. Matthew pretended to be hurt when he heard Yun Jian's words. Brother Kai was the one who settled the matter just now. Brother Kai's influence among the people around them was huge, so Lan Yi, who wanted to stir up trouble, at first kept her mouth shut and dared not say anything more. Yun Jian and Matthew, who were talking again, were no longer noticed by the people around them. Matthew held his chest, looking like he was heartbroken by Yun Jian. Yun Jian merely glanced at him coldly and sharply from the corner of her eyes. Matthew shuddered under Yun Jian's sharp glare and dared not pretend to be pitiful anymore. Matthew cleared his throat before looking at Yun Jian calmly and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Cough, boss. I guess Fox went to Longmen City to look for you. I wanted to go there directly, but there's someone I know here. So I came here first and bumped into you by chance. But you weren't here when I went to look for you. Fox will probably be here tonight, Matthew said. Yunjian nodded. The atmosphere in the private room was at its climax as everyone fought for the microphone and sang crazily. Perhaps it was because of Brother Kai, the walking treasury, and Mo Bufan, the campus hunk of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, who was the object of adoration and fanaticism among the girls. Therefore, the girls were fighting to show off their talents in front of Brother Kai, or Mo Bufan. Therefore, the two microphones in the large private room were constantly being fought over, and would never fall into Yunjian's hands. Yunjian's two roommates, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan, did not show up after the party ended. They probably had something else to do, and decided not to come. Anyway, no one noticed them. At 10 o'clock, everyone stayed in the large private room for about 2 hours. Finally, they left and headed back to the dormitory. A group of people walked towards the dormitory. This lineup was not to be underestimated. When they reached the corner, it was the most secluded road from the swing bar back to the school. In addition, it was already 10 o'clock at night. Only the faint light from the street lamps was still shining. Ouch! Suddenly, the sound of a girl falling could be heard. She seemed to have sprained her ankle. This girl's looks were not bad, and many boys surrounded her to help. Seeing this, Lan Yi couldn't help but ridicule. What a spoiled brat. It's just a fall. Is there a need to act like this? After ridiculing her, Lan Yi turned to look at Yunjian. Yunjian, who was standing in front of everyone, had a slight flash in her eyes. In the next second, two extremely fast figures suddenly appeared in front of everyone. These two figures, each holding a weapon, suddenly appeared in front of everyone like special agents in the movies. Both of them were in an extremely sorry state. The baby-faced woman who was being chased had many scratches on her body. It was obvious that the two of them had been fighting for a long time. Moreover, the baby-faced woman was almost no match for the other woman who was chasing her. What are they doing? Are they killing people? Lan Yi, Zhou Huntao, and Mo Bufan, and the others who didn't know the situation suddenly saw this scene, and were so frightened that their faces changed. These two women who suddenly appeared were very skilled. Everyone present could tell at a glance that they were definitely martial artists. At this moment, the two women were fighting like special agents in the movies. Their movements were astonishingly fast. Fox! Matthew shouted at the baby-faced woman who was obviously at a disadvantage and had many injuries on her body. Master Matthew, do you know this person? Although Mo Bufan and the others were shocked, Mo Bufan still stood up and asked Matthew softly. Just as he finished asking, Mo Bufan clenched his fists and said to the boys of the martial arts club, "Boys, come with me to help." Regardless of anything else, just based on the fact that Matthew knew the baby-faced woman, as a boy, Mo Bufan didn't want to see any casualties. Mo Bufan and the others were naturally not. This was a showdown between assassins. They couldn't interfere at all. However, just as Bufan was about to lead the boys of the martial arts club to rush over there to help, he saw a small, nimble, and powerful figure that dazzled everyone was already one step ahead of everyone and rushing over there. In front of everyone, Yunjian kicked the woman who was chasing after Fox to the ground. Then, a butterfly knife suddenly appeared in her hand. Yunjian's fast and frightening skills stunned Mo Bufan and the others. However, they saw Yunjian holding the butterfly knife and pointing the blade at the woman who was chasing after Fox. In front of everyone, she said something that no one could understand. "You dare to touch my people? You're really bold. Which organization are you from? Tell me your name." Chapter 1978. Not to mention that Yunjian was so smart. Even a fool would know that Fox was being chased by someone. The woman who was chasing Fox had obviously been chasing Fox for a long time. On the way to the swing bar, Yunjian felt that something was wrong. It seemed that the gunpowder smell that she smelled on the way here came from Fox and this woman. At this moment, the woman obviously knew that Fox was from the Rongyao company and was from the kosher mercenaries, so she attacked Fox. Fortunately, Fox and the civet cat were both assassins. However, Fox was later sent to the Rongyao company by Yun Jian, while the civet cat followed Snake Lizard and worked in the kosher mercenaries. In comparison, Fox's skills were weaker than the civet cat's. But even so, this woman chased Fox for several hours and still couldn't get rid of him. It was obvious that Fox's skills weren't weak. At this moment, after Yun Jian kicked the woman to the ground, the sound of her questioning the woman with the butterfly knife in her hand spread throughout the venue. In the scene just now, Yun Jian's attack was too fast, and the butterfly knife was too violent, so everyone present was stunned for a long time before they reacted. By the time they realized what was going on, the boys from the martial arts club who had planned to help Mo Bufan, Zhou Huntao, Zhou Zheng who had been rude to Yun Jian in the private room, and Zhu Huili who was with Yun Jian, were all stunned. Even Brother Kai, as well as Lan Yi who spoke rudely to Yun Jian and wanted to deal with Yun Jian, were all stunned. Not for anything else, but for Yun Jian's frightening skills. One had to know that even the president of the martial arts club, Mo Bufan, couldn't react immediately, but Yun Jian. She actually kicked the woman who was chasing Fox away before Mo Bufan made a move. Just based on this point, Yun Jian's skills were definitely above Mo Bufan's. One had to know how fast Fox was when he was fighting with that woman. That speed was comparable to the assassins in the movies. Just now, Yun Jian had kicked the woman away in a way that was faster and more frightening than this. It could be said that if it wasn't for Yun Jian, even if Mo Bufan and the rest rushed up to stop the fox and the woman, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. This scene made everyone who had previously thought that Yun Jian was arrogant and wanted to snatch Mo Bufan's position as the president of the Martial Arts Society. She had even used words to attack Yun Jian. All of them were stunned and their facial expressions stiffened. Zhou Zheng, who had just spoken ill of Yun Jian, was shocked beyond words. Everyone present stared with their eyes wide open. After all, Yun Jian was just a university student like them, and a freshman at that. While everyone was still in a daze, Yun Jian had already pulled up the woman lying on the ground. She placed the butterfly knife on the woman's neck. At this moment, she was like the Grim Reaper, interrogating the woman. "You don't want to say? I have plenty of ways to make you confess." Seeing Yun Jian place the butterfly knife on the woman's neck, Mo Bufan and the rest, who didn't know the situation, thought that Yun Jian was going to attack the woman for no reason. Thus Mo Bufan hurriedly said, "Calm down." Compared to Mo Bufan's calmness, although Lan Yi was afraid, she still wasn't willing to accept Yun Jian's amazing strength. Lan Yi still thought that Yun Jian was pretending. Thus, Lan Yi mustered up her courage and said to Yun Jian, "What are you pretending for? Do you need to use such methods to get Brother Kai and Senior Bufan's attention? Your two extras are pretty good, their acting skills aren't bad." However, before Lan Yi could finish speaking, Yun Jian's butterfly knife had already slid into the woman's neck in front of everyone. The knife was pulled back in time. Yun Jian's face was cold. Under the dumbfounded gazes of the group of people behind her, she continued to speak to the woman. This time, she had already confirmed the woman's identity. "Reverse Emperor's organization, right? I haven't done anything to Reverse Emperor's organization yet, and you guys came to me first. Are you in a hurry to die? Eh?" Chapter 1979. Yun Jian had already guessed the woman's origin. In fact, it was obvious that this woman was an assassin from Reverse Emperor. Now, except for the newly established Reverse Emperor, no one dared to do anything to her people. This woman was too much. She didn't say a word when Yun Jian interrogated her. It was obvious that she had been brainwashed by Reverse Emperor. At this moment, the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand had already cut the woman's neck. The butterfly knife slid into the woman's skin and cut open her skin, causing bright red blood to flow out. The woman was suppressed by Yun Jian and couldn't resist at all. Lan Yi, who insisted that Yun Jian deliberately found someone to act as her to attract everyone's attention, was so scared that she screamed, "Ah!" Yun Jian held the butterfly knife and was about to send the blade to the woman's neck. Wasn't she afraid of killing people? At this moment, it was impossible to say that Fox and this woman were deliberately invited by Yun Jian to act in front of everyone. How could anyone pretend to be like this? What's more, Mo Bufang clearly felt Yun Jian's strength. With her speed just now, let alone one, even 10 of him might not be a match for her. No wonder she asked to join the martial arts club, and asked to be the club president. Mo Bufang's eyes flashed at this moment, and he had his own plan. Since Yun Jian had already guessed the woman's origin, she didn't want to keep her alive. But when she heard Lan Yi and the others scream, Yun Jian's eyes darkened again. The blade stopped just as it was about to slit the woman's neck. Pulling her hand back in time, Yun Jian spun the butterfly knife and retracted the blade. Folding the handles on both sides of the butterfly knife, she gripped the handles agilely and smashed them at the back of the woman's neck. The woman didn't even have a chance to resist in Yun Jian's hands and fainted. Yun Jian directly threw the woman in front of Matthew and said to him, "Deal with her." Yun Jian originally wanted to slit the woman's throat, but Lan Yi's scream stopped Yun Jian from doing so. After all, she still had to stay in the university. If she killed a woman in front of Mo Bufang and the others, even if she had 2 hours of amnesia liquid, it would be inconvenient to use the 2 hours of amnesia liquid to erase people's memories every time. At this moment, Yun Jian threw the woman to Matthew and turned to look at the fox. Everyone was dumbfounded and had no idea what was going on. When Yun Jian turned her head to look at the fox, the surrounding people looked over curiously. The fox had been chased by the woman the entire way. The fox's strength was not as strong as the woman's, but it was not much weaker. Therefore, after being chased all the way, it had suffered quite a few injuries. Since Yun Jian had smelled the gunpowder of the pistol earlier, it proved that the fox and the woman had used firearms when they were fighting. However, there was always a time when a gun would run out of bullets. The two of them were unable to determine a winner, and were probably just wasting time. The fox could be chased here because he had followed Yun Jian's trail. It was not a coincidence. "I'll take you to the hospital to treat your wounds." Seeing that the fox did not suffer any gunshot wounds, but had many knife wounds on its body, Yun Jian put away the butterfly knife. She put her hands in her trouser pockets and walked to the fox. "Okay." At this moment, the fox was covering a bloody wound on his arm and following Yun Jian to the hospital. Mo Bufang and the others saw that Yun Jian was about to leave. "Let's go and help." Although Mo Bufang did not know what had just happened, he still chased after her. Brother Kai saw this and also followed. Zhu Huili naturally did not leave. Yun Jian pursed her lips. She knew that they thought that the woman had gone crazy and did this to the fox. Mo Bufang, who had caught up, had already turned on his phone to call the police. However, just as Mo Bufang was about to enter his phone number, his phone was snatched away by Yun Jian. "Let me borrow it." Then, Yun Jian entered a string of numbers and dialed a number. After 3 rings, the call was connected. Yun Jian spoke to the person on the other end of the phone, in front of the surrounding people, who had yet to recover from the shock. She spoke in a commanding tone. "Immediately get the leaders of the Kosha mercenaries intelligence team, assassination team, and investigation team to come to the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, in the province of Country Z to look for me. A. Chapter 1980. Yun Jian had never been a good person. Her people were being hunted by Reverse Emperor, and they were already bullying her. If she did not retaliate, she would not be slaying God anymore. Slaying God had always been a vengeful person who would repay kindness. She would never shrink back. That was who she was. There were 3 team leaders in the Kosha mercenaries. They were the intelligence team leader, the assassination team leader, and the investigation team leader. As the name suggested, the 3 team leaders were highly respected in the Kosha mercenaries other than Snake, Lizard and Tiger, Leopard. The status of the 3 team leaders was similar to Qingyu's in Gu Sha mercenaries. As for the areas that the 3 team leaders were in charge of, they were categorized. For example, the intelligence team leader was in charge of collecting information. The information that Yun Jian could obtain from the Kosha mercenaries was from the Kosha Mercenaries intelligence team. The person in charge of the Kosha Mercenaries intelligence team was the intelligence team leader. On the other hand, the assassination team was in charge of all the assassinations, missions, and mercenaries of the Kosha Mercenaries. The investigation team was a team that carried out a series of investigative activities, such as tracking and anti-tracking. It could be said that the three team leaders of the Kosha Mercenaries were crucial. Yun Jian's motive for summoning the three of them to Rivertown was obvious. Reverse Emperor had climbed to a higher position in the organization after 2 years of development. As a member of the Kosha Mercenaries, Slaying God had summoned the three team leaders of the Inhun group. It meant that she, Slaying God, was declaring war on Reverse Emperor. Therefore, Matthew and Fox, who knew what Yun Jian meant, blinked in shock when they heard Yun Jian's words. As for Mo Bufan, Brother Kai, Lan Yi, and the rest who were standing around, they were stunned as well. The crowd was surprised, but not because of what Yun Jian said. It was because, when Yun Jian was done speaking to the person on the other end of the phone, she hung up without waiting for a response. You can actually speak a foreign language? Zhou Huntao looked at Yun Jian and asked on behalf of everyone else in shock. Hearing Zhou Huntao's words, everyone present held their breaths and looked at Yun Jian, as if they wanted to hear Yun Jian's reply. What Yun Jian said just now was obviously not in English. It was a foreign language that no one present could understand. One had to know that youngsters nowadays generally did not like to study. Learning English, which was compulsory in school, was already killing them. Although the people present could not understand Yun Jian's language, just now, the standard pronunciation of her foreign language was so standard that everyone present could tell at once. Yun Jian was indeed speaking a foreign language. Therefore, when they heard Yun Jian's words, everyone present was stunned. Yun Jian responded softly to Zhou Huntao and threw the phone to Mo Bufan. After all, Mo Bufan had learned martial arts, taekwondo, and other kung fu for so many years. He caught the phone that Yun Jian threw over. Then which country's language did you just speak? Zhou Huntao continued to ask Yun Jian with interest. Italian. Yun Jian pursed her lips and replied. Then she took Fox to the hospital. Seeing this, Mo Bufan and the others also followed. Along the way, Zhou Huntao and the other members of the martial arts club were very interested in Yun Jian. One by one, they began to ask Yun Jian various questions in the form of a series of questions. Of course, many of them did not get a response from Yun Jian. After seeing Yun Jian's skills, the people of the martial arts club were not angry anymore. After Fox came out of the hospital, Yun Jian arranged for her to stay in a hotel for the time being. After Matthew dealt with the woman who was sent to assassinate Fox, he carried his laptop, which had a new system installed by Yun Jian, back to Rongyao Company overnight. After returning to the dormitory, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan were smoking one after another, which seriously polluted the air in the dormitory. Yun Jian's eyes darkened. Early the next morning, Zhu Huili and Yun Jian just left the dormitory building and were about to go to the classroom for their morning class. As soon as they went down the dormitory building, they saw Mo Bufan standing under a big tree not far away. Many girls around saw Mo Bufan appear and whispered softly, wondering who Mo Bufan was waiting for. Seeing Yun Jian appear, Mo Bufan walked over to Yun Jian. The surrounding girls who were hiding in the corner and secretly looking at Mo Bufan with shy eyes all secretly glanced and whispered, "Who is that girl? I don't think I've seen her before." Senior Bufan is actually waiting for her to go to the morning class in person? Before the girls were done being envious, however, they saw Mo Bufan pass a document to Yun Jian and say to her, "Yun Jian, you're a genius. From today onwards, the martial arts club will be handed over to you. I admit that I am not as good as you, so you will be the president." Chapter 1981. Just as Mo Bufan finished his sentence, the group of girls who were hiding nearby glancing at Mo Bufan shyly were so frightened that their expressions changed. The reason why the girls liked Mo Bufan was because Mo Bufan was powerful. Mo Bufan was the president of the martial arts club, In a place like the martial arts club, Mo Buffon's martial arts, taekwondo, judo and sanda were all top-notch. He was also recognized as an expert. In addition, Mo Buffon was handsome and was known as a handsome man. Being strong was the most important thing. Being handsome was also the most important thing. As such, wherever Mo Buffon went, there would be groups of girls hiding in the corners to steal glances at him and secretly admire him. It could be described in an exaggerated way. Other than going to the toilet, Mo Buffon was constantly being stared at by girls. And the thing that attracted the most girls' attention about Mo Buffon should be that he was different from the other guys who thought they were very powerful. Mo Buffon had real strength. But just now, in front of everyone, Mo Buffon actually said to this exquisite, beautiful, and seemingly defenseless young girl that because he, Mo Buffon, was inferior to her, the position of president of the martial arts club would be given to this young girl? One had to know that in the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, if Mo Buffon's strength dared to claim to be second, no one would dare to claim to be first. And today, Mo Buffon actually admitted that he was not as good as this young girl, and directly transferred the position of the martial arts club's president to her. And by right, Yun Jian, who had obtained the position of president of Mo Buffon's martial arts club, should be indescribably excited in the eyes of the surrounding girls, who were secretly glancing over. After all, the Martial Arts Club of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China had been established for a long time, and the position of president of the Martial Arts Club had never fallen into the hands of a girl. Today, not only did this young girl break this record, the extremely popular Mo Buffon, at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, had personally transferred the position of president of the Martial Arts Club to her. If it were any other girl, they would have fainted from surprise. However, what did the girls see? Everyone saw that Yun Jian reached out to take the stack of information about the president that Mo Buffon gave her, and nodded indifferently. And this meant that she was willing to be the president of the Martial Arts Club. When the girls saw that Mo Buffon seemed to have achieved an unattainable wish, they heaved a sigh of relief. Heavens, am I seeing things? Senior Buffon is actually so happy that he let out a sigh of relief? Shouldn't the girl be the one who fainted from joy? No girl in our school has ever received such treatment. That's right. Why is it the other way around today? From what I see, that girl seems to have promised our senior Buffon. More and more girls started gossiping. Of course, Yun Jian wasn't listening. After collecting the information, Yun Jian bypassed Mo Buffon and went to the morning class with Zhu Huili. In the following days, Yun Jian didn't meet Jian Ning, who she had met on the plane. Maybe Jian Ning hadn't entered the school yet. When Yun Jian came to school, it was already September 18th. In the following days, Yun Jian didn't talk to Fox, giving him time to recuperate. The three team leaders of the kosher mercenaries wouldn't come to Jiang City to look for Yun Jian so soon. Yun Jian didn't give any urgent orders, so the three of them naturally settled everything in the organization before heading to Jiang City. At that time, the Mid-Autumn Festival was approaching and the school had a 3-day holiday. Yun Jian and Zhu Huili dragged their suitcases and walked towards the school gate. During these few days in school, Yun Jian got up early in the morning to run. Zhu Huili also ran with her. Although Zhu Huili couldn't run fast, she worked very hard to lose weight. At the same time, the relationship between Zhu Huili and Yun Jian was gradually getting closer. Then Yun Jian, let's part ways here. Zhu Huili told Yun Jian softly, since they were taking different routes home. Yun Jian nodded, and Zhu Huili turned to leave with her suitcase. Yun Jian was just about to drag her suitcase in the opposite direction when she was interrupted. Suddenly, a slender and large hand with distinct bones grabbed the suitcase for her while another large hand held her other hand. The familiar fresh scent wafted into Yun Jian's nose. In front of the passers-by on the street, the person took Yun Jian's luggage from her by hugging her from the back and held her hand easily. When the familiar handsome face appeared before Yun Jian, the thin lips under the handsome face moved slightly. Ce smiled and held Yun Jian's hand like a newlywed couple, squeezing it and saying, "Xiao Jian, I'm here to take you home. A. Chapter 1982. The Mid-Autumn Festival was a national holiday. Yunjian had just packed her things today and left the school gate with Zhu Huili, heading back to their respective homes. After Zhu Huili left, Yunjian was about to pick up her suitcase when it was taken away by Ce. Ce was holding her hand as he said what he said just now. Yunjian's smile lifted slightly when she saw Ce. She clasped Ce's large palm with her own and walked towards Ce's Lamborghini. Ce put Yunjian's suitcase in the narrow back seat of the Lamborghini. After Yunjian got into the front passenger seat, he started the engine, and the car sped away like a bolt of lightning. Ce had not seen Yunjian for a few days since he came back the last time. Now that he saw her again, he could not be more in love with her. Ce was different from other men. Some people said that two people would get tired of being together for a long time, especially couples who were very loving before marriage. After being together for a long time after marriage, the man would develop a sense of weariness toward the woman. The sense of weariness here was usually when the man got to know the woman like the back of his hand and felt bored. So he went out in search of novelty. This was the so-called cheating. Ce was completely different from those men. When Yunjian completely became his woman, Ce would not get tired of Yunjian. On the contrary, he could not bear to leave her. He wanted to see her all the time and not be apart from her for even a second. Students rarely went home on weekends in university because they came from all over the country. Some of them even came from out of the province to study in university. Going home once was a waste of time and money, so most students would choose to go back during the holidays. Most students would definitely go home for a major festival like the Mid-Autumn Festival. Yunjian was no exception. It was 1 in the afternoon when Yunjian and Ce returned to Longmen City. Today was already a holiday. Xiao Yunju's elementary school had already been closed the day before. They were lucky to be in time for the festival, so Ce brought Yunjian back to Longmen City. After having Qin Yuru's late lunch, everyone packed their luggage and prepared to go on a trip. During the 3 days of the Mid-Autumn Festival, Qin Yuru and Gejunjian had already agreed to go on a trip together. The destination of the tour was still the seaside. For this trip, Lansu, Qingyu, Gunyinji, and Yuni were traveling together. Of course, Adam was tagging along as well. Because Lansu had a child with her, Adam, as a stay-at-home dad, naturally had to follow and serve her. On the way there, Yunju, Duanli, and Duanyu were in high spirits, singing the songs they learned from school during their excursion, cheerful and carefree. Mo Sun and Snow Eagle had already brought Luo Mei and Si Luo back to an Hun group, so it was impossible for them to be here now. At the same time, Gejunjian drove his Jeep, Siyi's Lamborghini and Adam's sports car. It was just enough to fit everyone. The 3 cars were currently heading to Wenzhou, the nearest seaside city to Longmen City. Zhe Province, Wenzhou. Wenzhou was a coastal city located right next to the sea, so there were many seaside vacation spots. Many people who lived near the sea had also started a seaside tourism business. Gejunjian had booked a hotel before they came. It was a hotel near the sea, and while it was not particularly luxurious, it was not too shabby either. Gejunjian knew Siyi's personality, so he had booked a room for Yunjian when he booked the hotel. This made Siyi's impression of his father-in-law, Gejunjian, improve instantly. By then, Yunjian and the rest had already brought Xiao Yunju, Duanli, Duanya, Qingyu, Yunyi, and Gunyinji to the beach. Siyi followed Yunjian with a hand in his pocket. Qin Yiru and Gejunjian set up a barbecue rack by the beach and set up a simple umbrella to start the barbecue. Lan Su did not go far because she had a child with her, while Adam, one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group, helped Qin Yiru and Gejunjian move the barbecue rack and everything else out. Of course, with Lan Su and his child by his side, Adam was happy to move. At the same time, Yunjian had already pulled Duan Li and Duanya's hands to the temporary changing room by the beach. Qingyu and Gunyinji ran in as well. Ce and Yuni dragged Xiao Yunju to the men's room. Yunjian even put on a jacket when they came out of the changing room. She knew that Ce did not want to expose her in a swimsuit in front of everyone. However, even with a jacket, Yunjian's fair and slender legs were still exposed to everyone's eyes. Just as they walked out of the changing room, Yunjian felt Ce's burning gaze on her. When he saw her beautiful figure, Ce was suddenly reminded of how he had pinned her down, and a certain part of his body reacted instantly. Chapter 1983. Ce did not change out of his swimming trunks, nor did he take off his top. He didn't like to expose his upper body for others to see. It did not matter if Ce was conservative or petty. He could not bear to let others see his Xiaojian, and he would not let other women see him as well. Everything he had belonged to his Xiaojian. By then, other than Qin Yiru and Gejunjian, Lan Su who was carrying a child, and Adam who was a mover, the rest of them had changed into their swimsuits. Qingyu had changed into a swimsuit that was not very sexy, but exposed the parts that should not be exposed. Qingyu's swimsuit was conservative, but exposed the parts that should be exposed. It was beautiful and breathtaking. Qingyu's swimsuit was a girlish pink. Gunyinji wore a green swimsuit that resembled a one-piece dress. Her top and skirt were joined together, and only her navel was exposed. She was so beautiful that one could not take their eyes off her, giving one the urge to grab her and ravage her just by looking at her. Of course, Ce did not even look at what Qingyu and Gunyinji were wearing. His burning gaze was fixed on Yunjian, unwilling to look away for even a second. Yunyi did not take off her top as well, but he had changed into a very conservative swimming trunks. Compared to 2 years ago, he was tall and handsome. Wow, Sister Jian, it's been 2 years and your figure is getting better. Quick, let me touch you, let me touch you. When Qingyu came out of the changing room and saw Yunjian with a jacket draped over her, she went to Yunjian with a perverted expression. Her hands were cupped like chicken feet, and were about to reach out to Yunjian like pig trotters. The scariest part was that Qingyu was saying lewd things that could be misunderstood with a cheeky grin. Ce who heard Qingyu stared at Yunjian. His first reaction was Yunjian's alluring figure. Recalling that, Ce shoved Xiao Yunju into Yunyi's hand, before Qingyu went over to grope Yunjian, and strode forward to grab Yunjian's hand to walk to the beach. Ce took Yunjian away without a word, making Qingyu and the others chuckle slyly. Qingyu especially clapped her hands when she saw Ce taking Yunjian away, and put her elbow on Gunyinji's shoulder giggling. "TSK, I wasn't wrong. Sister Jian's figure looks so much better than before. Those breasts, those hips. TSK. If I were a man, I'd want to F***ck her." As Qingyu spoke, she gestured lewdly. Just as Qingyu spoke, she felt a light tap on the top of her head. Yunyi's rather stern voice then rang out. "You're right, master. Who do you want to F***ck?" Qingyu turned to look up and saw Yunyi's deep eyes looking at her inquisitively. She could not help gulping. "I." Qingyu's eyes darted around, not knowing how to answer him. "Cough. I'll bring Xiaozhu and the rest to the beach to wash their feet. You guys have fun." Gunyinji slapped Qingyu's hand off her shoulder, and pulled Xiao Yunju and the rest to run to the beach. Before Gunyinji could run far, she heard Qingyu's bewildered voice behind her. Gunyinji twisted her ankle when the voice rang out, almost falling to the ground in a frog-like position from the shock. However, Qingyu, who was standing where she was, panicked. Seeing that Gunyinji was about to slip away again, she met Yunyi's gaze, her eyes darting around as she pouted. In a fluster, she blurted out what she could not control or take back. "I want to F***ck you. Chapter 1984. Qingyu panicked from being stared at by Yunyi, so her mouth opened and closed as she blurted out. Even Qingyu herself did not realize what she had said in a moment of desperation when she blurted it out. When she finally realized what she had said, Qingyu felt like dying. What kind of rotten mouth was that? What kind of words were those that could cause misunderstandings? Qingyu lowered her head, not daring to look at Yunyi. Gunyinji, who was dragging Xiao Yunju and the rest to the beach to wash her feet, slipped and fell forward when she heard Qingyu's words. Feeling like she was going to fall on the ground like a frog, Gu Nianji quickly let go of Xiao Yunju, and the rest to prevent Xiao Yunju, and the rest from tripping because of her. However, just as Gu Nianji's body fell forward, Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya held her hands together to steady her. Cough, cough, cough. Although Gu Nianji called herself a matchmaker, she had never had a man before. Her face was as red as a monkey's, but when she heard Qing Yu's words, she coughed twice and dragged Xiao Yunju and the rest to the beach, sprinting toward the beach. She did not say anything. She did not hear anything. By then, Qing Yu had already noticed Gu Nianji's reaction. She blushed furiously when Gu Nianji heard what she had said. "You're the one who said it." Yunyi reached out to rub Qing Yu's head gently with his large palm. A devilish smile curled up at the corner of his lips. Qing Yu suddenly had a feeling that she had been tricked by herself. "I'll go play with Gu Nianji," Qing Yu said, trying to break free from Yunyi and sneak away. "Stay with me." Before Qing Yu could escape, Yunyi grabbed her hand. Qing Yu's ability was powerful, but she was not outstanding in terms of skills. However, Qing Yu, who was known as the Lady Poison, could poison anyone at will without being noticed. This was Qing Yu's ability. However, Yunyi had been training her skills daily for the past 2 years. Yunyi was very talented, and Yunyi's ability was already above Qing Yu's. Qing Yu was good at using poison. She could even poison the top international figures without them noticing. However, Qing Yu and Yunyi had been dating for 2 years. At this moment, Yunyi knew Qing Yu like the back of his hand. He even knew what she would do in the next second. Therefore, it would not work even if Qing Yu poisoned Yunyi. It was because Yunyi had countered Qing Yu's move before she even made her move. Qing Yu blinked, clearly still reeling from the awkward situation earlier. But on second thought, she didn't say anything wrong. She was his girlfriend, and there was nothing wrong with wanting to have sex with him. If Yunyi heard this, she would probably bring Qing Yu back to the hotel in seconds. On the other hand, Ce pulled Yun Jian to the rocks by the sea. There were usually rocks near the beach that were neither too far nor too close. The rocks were distributed in an orderly manner. Usually, when one wanted to walk into the rocky area, there would be very little sand under one's feet. One's feet would step on the rocks directly. Usually, when one looked at the rocky area from the beach, one would not be able to see the opposite side of the rocks, because many huge rocks would cover the rocks behind. In addition to the summer weather, the rocks were scorching under the scorching sun. One would feel like one was stepping into a fire pit when one stepped on the rocks. Although it was not the hottest noon, it was only 3 in the afternoon. The sun was much dimmer than noon, but it was still the time when the sun was high up in the sky. There was no one walking around the rocky area near the beach at this moment. Ce pulled Yun Jian to the rocky area. When he stepped on the rocks, the scorching heat of the rocks made his eyes flicker. In the next second, he was worried that Yun Jian's little feet would be scalded by the scorching rocks if she stepped on them. Ce bent down slightly and scooped Yun Jian up horizontally, ignoring the fact that he would be scalded if he stepped on the scorching rocks, as he walked toward the rocky area where there was no one around. Chapter 1985. Where are you taking me? Yun Jian watched as Ce carried her in his arms and walked over the rocks towards the rocky area. She reached out a hand and hooked it around his neck like a little girl. "Close your eyes." Ce's thin lips moved. At this moment, he was right next to Yun Jian's ear, as he whispered this very softly. Hearing Ce's voice, Yun Jian felt a moment of numbness. Her body trembled slightly from this numbness. Then, she hugged him with both hands and closed her eyes, allowing him to carry her as they walked. To be honest, this was the first time Yun Jian had been carried in a princess carry like this. She couldn't help but feel a trace of anticipation in her heart that she didn't know where it came from. Where was he going to take her? By the beach, the barbecue rack and parasols were already in place. Qing Yuru was skewering barbecue skewers at this moment. The children wanted to come to the beach to play, so she and Gu Junjian brought the children to the beach to play. At this moment, other than Gu Junjian and Qing Yuru, Adam and Lan Su were also sitting under the parasols by the beach. Lan Su carried the child. Sometimes the child was especially naughty. His little legs would kick around uncontrollably. The child's body was soft, so Lan Su had to constantly move around to carry the child. There was a technique to carrying a child. Some people carried a child like they were carrying a little chick. The child was also very uncomfortable being carried. The way Lan Su carried the child was taught by Qin Yiru. However, the child was especially naughty these 2 days and kept moving around. At this moment, he was nestled in Lan Su's arms and kept kicking around. Lan Su carried the child. Although the child was already more than a year old, she still felt that she wasn't used to taking care of a child. "I'll carry this little brat. You rest for a while." Adam finished moving the barbecue equipment and came over to take the mischievous Joey Ran from Lan Su's arms. Joey Ran was the name of Adam and Lan Su's child. He was already over a year old this year, and he was fair and chubby. Adam wanted to take the child from Lan Su's arms. Joey Ran, this little fellow, used all his strength to hold onto the corner of Lan Su's clothes, unwilling to let his father carry him. When Adam saw that his child was grabbing the corner of Lan Su's clothes, he suddenly felt a burst of jealousy. Once he thought about how this stinking brat had actually grown up drinking his wife's milk, Adam could bear to do it. He pulled away the little fellow's hand that was grabbing onto Lan Su's clothes, and forcefully carried the crying little fellow from Lan Su's embrace. "Be careful, you'll hurt him." When Lan Su saw this, he became anxious. "He's the one who did it," Adam said with jealousy. If this little guy wasn't his son, Adam would have already flung him to the ground. "How can you treat little Iran like this? Don't carry the child anymore, give him back to me." When Lan Su saw this, she felt a burst of heartache and reached out to take the child back from Adam. "If you don't want me to treat him like this, you have to promise me one thing." Adam lightly patted the little fellows, but suddenly said this. At this moment, Qin Yiru and Gujunjian were happily standing together and talking. They skewered barbecue skewers one by one, so they didn't notice Adam and Lan Su. Taking advantage of the moment when Qin Yiru and Gujunjian weren't paying attention, Adam suddenly stuck his head close to Lan Su's ear and whispered, "Tonight, let me drink the milk you feed this stinking brat. Then I won't treat him like this." When Lan Su heard this, his face instantly turned red. Yunjian and Ce were unaware of what was going on here. Ce had already carried Yunjian into the rocky area. No one walked by the edge of the rocky area. Once they entered the area, even if someone were to cruise back and forth on the sea on a yacht, they would not be able to see the blind spots behind the large rocks. Ce carried Yunjian to a few spots in the rocky area that were covered by rocks. There was no one around. He pressed Yunjian against a large rock and bit Yunjian's ear softly. "Xiao Jian, you can open your eyes now." Just as Yunjian opened her eyes, she felt Ce pressing her against a rock in an embarrassing position. Her legs were lifted. Having spent 2 years with Ce in the sacred spring, how could Yunjian not know what Ce was thinking right now? She pushed Ce. "What are you doing? Someone will come here anytime." However, she felt Ce flip her over and was already busy. "I've checked. There's no one around. Don't you want it, Xiao Jian?" As he spoke, CEA. Chapter 1986. It was a sunny afternoon. In broad daylight, in the blind spot of the rock, where no one could see, Ce did something shameful to Yunjian. When Ce did that to Yunjian, neither of them took off their clothes. Because they were outdoors and the beach was nearby, Yunjian didn't dare to scream. She could only hold on to Ce's clothes tightly and let Ce do whatever he wanted to her. She had to admit that Ce had become more and more daring ever since they started having sex 2 years ago. He actually dared to pull her to the beach. In the end, Ce couldn't control himself and directly sent his savings into her body. Yunjian hurriedly pushed him away. "Don't get pregnant." It was too late. It was already over. In the past 2 years in the holy spring, Ce had always wanted to do shameful things to her. However, there were no safety measures in the holy spring, so he had always held back and backed out at the last moment. However, at this moment, the two of them couldn't control themselves anymore. "If you get pregnant, give birth to it." After Ce helped Yunjian tidy up her clothes, he hugged Yunjian, who was blushing and didn't dare to look at him. Yun Jian had indeed enjoyed it just now. Although it was very shameful, Ce had always been the one in control. He was the one who wanted to do it. When she thought of this, Yun Jian's shame disappeared. Pushing Ce, Yun Jian said, "My legs are wobbly. I'll carry you back." With that, Ce was about to carry Yun Jian horizontally. "Don't go back now." Yun Jian pushed Ce a few times. After doing such a shameful thing in the rock field near the beach, Yun Jian didn't dare to see Qin Yiru and the others. She was afraid that they would find out that she and Ce had done something so shameful outside. "Xiao Jian, are you shy?" Ce brushed Yun Jian's hair with a smile and whispered in her ear. Ce saw that Yun Jian's earlobes blushed again when she heard what he said. His smile widened at the sight. That was right. Adam already had a child. How could he fall behind? Now that his Xiao Jian was an adult, Ce did it on purpose just now. That was the only way his Xiao Jian could get pregnant with his child. Then give birth to it. Poor Yun Jian had no idea of Ce's naughty thoughts. At the same time, Qin Yiru and Gujun Jian had started a charcoal fire in the barbecue rack and placed the skewers on it. The skewers they brought this time included lamb skewers, sausages, chicken wings, tofu, and green beans. Gujun Jian placed the skewers on the barbecue rack and smeared a layer of oil on them. There was a crackle of oil on the skewers, followed by a puff of smoke that carried the fragrant scent of barbecue. "Smells good, smells good." Zhou Ran, who smelled the aroma, began tapping his hands and legs alternately as he uttered words that were not pronounced properly. Zhou Ran, the little fellow, could now speak some simple words. He could also call his parents. He was more than a year old now and could chew finer foods, but his food source was still milk. When there was no milk, he would drink milk powder that was already soaked. "Let Xiao Ran eat the skewers when they're done. Be good, Xiao Ran." Qin Yiru smiled at the child and told him in a coaxing tone. There was no telling if the little guy understood what she said, but he grinned suddenly, his arms and legs bouncing up and down even more energetically. When the skewers were almost done, Yun Jian and Ce came back as well. Gun Yinji had also come back with Xiao Yunju and the girls. She did not know where Yun Yi had brought Qingyu, but when they returned, Qingyu was in high spirits. Yun Jian's legs were wobbly. "Sister Jian, where did you guys go just now? We couldn't find you guys." Qingyu skipped over to ask Yun Jian. Yun Jian blushed at the question of where she had gone. Qingyu did not notice anything amiss. Suddenly, Qingyu saw that Yun Jian's fair legs were red, like they were pressed down by something heavy for a while. What Qingyu did not know was that the red marks were caused by Ce. Qingyu did not think much about it either. She looked at Yun Jian's legs and asked, "Sister Jian, why are you looking at your legs?" Sister Jian, why is the side of your leg so red? Did you get pricked by something when you swam in the water just now?" Chapter 1987. Yun Jian's first reaction when she heard Qingyu was to gather her thighs and pull the short jacket closer to her thighs. It was not enough to cover her thighs, but it was better than just now. At that moment, Yun Jian's cheeks were indescribably rosy. Sister Jian, why are you blushing?" Qingyu had no idea what she had just discovered as she tilted her head to look at Yun Jian and asked suspiciously, "It's probably an allergy." "It's fine." Yun Jian lied through her teeth. Yun Jian was not as thick-skinned as Ce, nor was she as fluent in lying as Ce. It was worth mentioning that Ce was an expert at telling lies. "Why are you allergic?" "Sister Jian, do you want to go to the hospital for a checkup?" Qingyu asked, looking at Yun Jian worriedly. If they went to the hospital, they would be found out that she and Ce had taken the forbidden fruit in secret. "No need, it's fine now." Yun Jian declined quickly. As she spoke, she pinched Ce discreetly in the dark where Qingyu, Yun Yi, Gun Yinji, and Xiao Yunju could not see. Ce looked at Yun Jian with a faint smile. His Xiao Jian was getting cuter and cuter. So cute that he wanted to press his Xiao Jian under him every day. Yun Jian did not know that Ce was thinking about something so embarrassing. She merely pinched Ce lightly, reluctant to pinch him too hard. "The barbecue is done. It's going to be burnt later. Come over and eat." Qin Yiru waved at Yun Jian, Ce, and the others from afar. Seeing that, The mark on Yun Jian's leg was finally put aside for the time being. Just as Yun Jian and the others returned to the shade, Qin Yiru placed the barbecue skewers on prepared bowls and plates, and passed them to Yun Jian and the others. Lan Su's child had already started eating the skewers. Of course, Lan Su dared not feed him too much. The skewers she fed him were not seasoned, and were mashed into porridge before feeding him. As the father, Adam was the one who did the mashing. The child's appearance made Adam both happy and depressed. He was happy that he and Lan Su had a child of their own. Most importantly, he had a child earlier than the young masters, Lin Wei, and Mo Sun and Shuang. There was finally a first. His sperm was better than theirs. If Ce heard this, she would probably send Adam into space with a rocket. Qin Yiru's barbecue was really delicious. Yun Jian ate more than 20 skewers in one go and didn't think it was too much. Everyone ate with relish. Tomorrow we'll go to the island to play. Tonight we'll play around here for a while. Tomorrow, we'll check out of the hotel and take the ferry to Zhoushan Island. Then we'll find a hotel there to stay. Gu Junjian explained his plan as he ate. Everyone expressed that they had no objections. Island in modern Chinese referred to a small piece of land surrounded by seawater. Therefore, to go to the island, one had to take the ferry. And to take the ferry, one had to go to the pier. Because there were many people traveling during the Mid-Autumn Festival, the tickets had to be bought in advance. Otherwise, one wouldn't be able to take the extra seats on the ferry. The island they were going to was called Zhoushan Island. Zhoushan Island was the largest island among the many nearby islands. At the same time, it was also the largest island in Country Z. Whether it was the beaches or the scenery on Zhoushan Island, it was one of the best. It was a national tourist attraction under its jurisdiction. Since they came to Wenzhou, they had never been to Zhoushan Island. As soon as Gu Junjian arrived in Wenzhou, he had already bought the ferry tickets from the pier to Zhoushan Island. It would depart at 7 a.m. the next day. The trip didn't end after eating the barbecue. The Mid-Autumn Festival trip would officially begin the next morning. Chapter 1988. They stayed there from 3 in the afternoon to 6 in the evening. The sun in the west was already setting, and the orange afterglow was reflected on the slowly floating clouds, leaving behind a scene that seemed like the sunset had not yet set. After admiring the afterglow of the sunset, everyone returned to their residences. They had just rushed to Wenzhou from Longmen City, and had played for about 3 hours in the afternoon. They even had a barbecue, so everyone was a little tired. Just as they were about to head back, Gu Junjian received a call. Old Liang, why are you in Wenzhou too? Sure, we're at Oasis Hotel. You guys can just head over when you're here. Oh sure. See you later then, Gu Junjian was surprised and delighted at the person on the other end of the phone, before hanging up. Since the call was not on speaker, only Gu Junjian's surprised and delighted voice could be heard. It was only when Gu Junjian ended the call that Qin Yiru glanced at Gu Junjian and asked, "Who was it?" Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru were becoming more and more like an old married couple. Even the way they spoke sounded like an old married couple. After Gu Junjian ended the call, he explained to Qin Yiru with a smile. It was old Liang. His company gave him a break for the Mid-Autumn Festival too. He heard that we're traveling with our kids, so he came along too. He said he'd go to Zhoushan Island with us. It's a rare opportunity after all. After Gu Junjian explained, Qin Yiru hummed in response and nodded. Old Liang was Gu Junjian's childhood friend, and had known Gu Junjian since they were young. Although they had different careers later on, they had always kept in touch. Old Liang was the director of a high-tech company, and held a high position now. He had been particularly busy in recent years, and could not even spare time for holidays, let alone meeting Gu Junjian. Gu Junjian was surprised and delighted that old Liang had a break for the Mid-Autumn Festival this year. Obviously, Qin Yiru also knew who Lao Liang was. At the same time, Yun Jian and Ce helped to pack up all the barbecue equipment. After moving the barbecue grill and other things into the car, the group drove back to the Oasis Hotel. Gu Junjian was very excited because his childhood friend, old Liang, had already brought his family to the Oasis Hotel. How long had it been since he last saw old Liang? After they each had their own families, they hadn't seen each other for several years. Upon returning to the Oasis Hotel, Yun Jian saw a middle-aged man about the same age as Ge Junjian, standing in front of the hotel. Next to the middle-aged man stood a graceful and elegant lady. The lady was holding the hand of a young girl, who was about the same age as Yun Jian. Before Yun Jian and Ge Junjian could walk over, the young girl who was about the same age as Yun Jian looked around with disdain. She waved her hand to get rid of the summer heat around her ears, and said to the middle-aged man, "Brother Yi, you're too young." "Dad, why do we have to come to such a godforsaken place for a vacation? It's so hot. You can just find your friends, and come by yourself. Why do you have to make me and my mother come too?" I don't care. I've already asked you to accompany me. He'll be here soon." "You. Sai, I say you're so worrisome even after growing up. I've already said that Jin Yu isn't suitable to be your boyfriend, much less your future husband. Why don't you listen to me?" When the middle-aged man heard his daughter's words, he was furious and clenched his fists. "What are you doing? Are you trying to hit our daughter? I think Jin Yu is an upright person. He's not bad. The most important thing is that our daughter likes him. Our daughter is fair, rich and beautiful. She can have any man she wants." When the lady saw that her husband wanted to hit her daughter, she hurriedly stood in front of her daughter and glared at the middle-aged man. "Old Liang." At this moment, Ge Junjian had already brought Yun Jian and the others over to where the middle-aged man was. The middle-aged man was still holding his forehead. He had a headache over the daughter he had spoiled, and his wife who was so protective of her. However, when he heard Ge Yunjian's voice, the middle-aged man turned around. "Old Ge." The middle-aged man no longer hesitated. He walked over in front of everyone and hugged Ge Junjian, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. Chapter 1989. Lao Liang was the middle-aged man from earlier. The lady standing beside Lao Liang was Lao Liang's wife, Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan was born into a wealthy family. She was a match for old Liang, who was already well off to begin with. Actually, that was not the case. Lao Liang's family background was the same as Ge Yunjian's, who was born into a wealthy family. Both Lao Liang and Ge Junjian were born into wealthy families, so they could not decide on their marriage. However, Ge Yunjian's ex-wife ran away with another man, so the marriage was annulled. Lao Liang was a senior executive in his company, and his wife Yu Yuan was also forced on him by his parents. Yu Yuan was an unreasonable and troublemaker to begin with, so old Liang didn't like her. Lao Liang and Yu Yuan even had a daughter named Liang Xiumin. Liang Xiumin was the daughter who did not listen to Lao Liang. Her father did not agree, but Liang Xiumin insisted on having a boyfriend. This time, Liang Xiumin was forced to come to Wenzhou by Lao Liang. Liang Xiumin reluctantly called her boyfriend over, and he was almost here. Lao Liang knew that Ge Junjian was coming out to have fun, so he came over because his company was on holiday. Now that he saw his old friend, Ge Junjian, whom he had not seen for a long time, Lao Liang forgot about his daughter and walked over to hug Ge Junjian. Because of many things, Lao Liang could not leave Ge Yunjian's second wedding, so Lao Liang felt a little apologetic. Now that he saw Qin Yiru, Lao Liang even said apologetically to her, "Sister-in-law, I did not make it to your wedding. Please forgive me." Lao Liang did not come, but he did not forget the gifts. Qin Yiru naturally remembered who was good and who was bad. Therefore, Qin Yiru also said a few words of courtesy. Other than Yu Yuan and Liang Xiumin, who did not talk to Qin Yiru or Ge Junjian, Lao Liang was very friendly. In the end, it was old Liang who forcefully introduced his daughter, Liang Xiumin, to Yun Jian. However, at that time, Liang Xiumin was at odds with her father and did not want to talk to anyone. It wasn't until Liang Xiumin's boyfriend, Jin Yu, arrived that Liang Xiumin finally opened her mouth, and her bad mood improved a little. Liang Xiumin's boyfriend, Jin Yu, was dressed like a gangster. In this era, tattered pants were not popular, and boys or girls wearing tattered pants would give people the impression that they were hooligans. At this moment, Jinyu was wearing a pair of ripped trousers, walking over from a distance with an air of arrogance. There were a few young men and women beside Jinyu. They were dressed similarly to Jinyu, and it was obvious that they were gangsters. When Liang Xiaomin saw Jinyu, she was still smiling. But when she saw the boys and girls beside Jinyu, her face sank. My dad was unhappy when he knew you were coming. Why did you bring others here? Jinyu's looks weren't bad, but he was a proper gigolo. Didn't everyone want to come and have some fun? So I brought them here. We've already spent all our money on the tickets. Xiaomin, we'll have to rely on you for the rest of the money. Jinyu tricked Liang Xiaomin in the dark. As he spoke, Jinyu moved closer to Liang Xiaomin and added suggestively, I love you, so I came even though I don't have any money with me. Alright, don't be mad anymore. Yunjian heard Jinyu and Liang Xiaomin's secret conversation. It was obvious that Jinyu was lying to Liang Xiaomin. After all, the Liang family was rich and affluent. What did that have to do with Yunjian? As Liang Xiaomin and Jinyu spoke, Yunjian had already returned to the hotel with Ce, Qingyu, and the others. It was 8 in the evening when Qingyu came to ask Yunjian out. Sister Jian, there's a casino on the second floor of this hotel. Do you want to go play a few rounds? Ce and Yun-yi were both called over by good Junjian to play chess with him and old Liang. Ce naturally agreed to his future father-in-law's invitation. Oasis Hotel was an AAA-rated National Green Hotel. The facilities in the hotel were luxurious, with hot springs, massage parlors, and more. There was even a chess room. Once Yunjian recalled what Ce had done to her in the afternoon. She nodded and agreed to Qingyu's request. With the mysterious man still alive, her safety was at risk at all times. It was best if she did not get pregnant now. It was not that Yunjian did not want to bear Ce a child. Therefore, while Ce was not around, Yunjian planned to go to the pharmacy downstairs to buy an emergency morning after pill. Of course, Yunjian dared not let Ce know that she was going to buy the pill. Yunjian's period had been irregular for the past 2 months. She was afraid that if she really got pregnant, she would not be able to fight the mysterious man and would be a burden to Ce. Yunjian did not think about the consequences if Ce found out about her buying the morning after pill. Chapter 1990. Sure. Yunjian agreed to Qingyu's invitation. She could buy the morning after pill from the pharmacy downstairs when they went to the casino later and consume it secretly. Who would not know that? Qingyu had actually come over to ask Yun-yi to gamble with Yunjian at the casino when she was not around. Yunjian was known as the female gambling god by the group of old men with the best gambling skills in the international gambling industry. Yunjian had even gambled away a month's worth of profits at the internationally renowned Feng Yin Casino for a night. $1 billion USD. Her gambling skills were astounding. That was why Qingyu had come over to ask Yunjian out, planning to have Yunjian bring her, a poor person with mediocre gambling skills, to win big. Both of them had just left the room and went down to the second floor of the hotel when they bumped into Liang Xiaomin, Jinyu, and the rest. Liang Xiaomin pouted and followed Jinyu and the rest to the casino unwillingly. Don't worry, what's so scary about the casino? I'll protect you. Moreover, we're not betting much, so the chances of winning are high. Even if we lose, it won't cost much. Xiaomin, your family is so rich. You wouldn't care about such a small amount of money, would you? Jinyu was still baiting Liang Xiaomin when she caught sight of Yunjian and Qingyu just as she said that. Jinyu stopped what she was about to say immediately. From what Jinyu had said to Liang Xiaomin when she first appeared, and what happened afterward, it could be seen that Jinyu was a gigolo. Liang Xiaomin's father, old Liang, was the general manager of a high-tech company and was very wealthy. Jinyu had her eyes on Liang Xiaomin's family's wealth since the beginning. Liang Xiaomin was not particularly pretty, but she was still acceptable. For the sake of money, Jinyu got close to Liang Xiaomin, who appeared to be high and mighty, but was actually quite gullible and gullible. It was a coincidence that they bumped into Yunjian at the entrance of the hotel casino, and it shut Jinyu's mouth to bluff Liang Xiaomin. Jinyu had already seen Yunjian at the gate. It had to be said that Yun Jian's appearance was too attractive. Jinyu was attracted at a glance. Seeing that Yun Jian was going to the casino, Jinyu put down her sugar daddy, Liang Xiaomin, and hurriedly waved at Yun Jian. Hey, we met at the entrance just now. You're the daughter of Xiaomin's father's friend, right? Why did a girl like you come to the casino? Don't tell me you know how to gamble? As she spoke, Jinyu flipped her short black hair. This was Jinyu's way of flirting with girls. There were very few girls who weren't attracted to Jinyu. To be honest, Jinyu's looks were indeed not bad. She was fair and clean, and her bones revealed a youthful aura. He was the type that many young girls liked and pursued. However, Yun Jian was not interested in this type of thing at all. Yun Jian ignored her and went to the casino with Jinyu. Hey, why is she ignoring us? Liang Xiaomin wanted to call out to Yun Jian when she saw this. Forget it. She should be the more aloof type, Jinyu said as she stopped Liang Xiaomin. While watching Yun Jian walk into the casino, a few of Jinyu's friends stood beside her. They were all gangsters like Jinyu. Among them, a girl named Tong Liwei thought of a tall and handsome figure when she saw how Yun Jian ignored Jinyu and walked into the casino. Tong Liwei was envious when she saw how Ce held Yun Jian's hand at the entrance earlier. She wanted to have such a handsome and outstanding boyfriend as well. Therefore, she had the urge to snatch Ce away from Yun Jian. Tong Liwei had always been someone who would act on her thoughts. Now that she saw Yun Jian walk into the casino, she could not help grumbling in front of everyone. This girl is probably from the triads. She must be someone who doesn't know how to behave, if she can enter a place like this. The handsome man did not follow her, which meant that Yun Jian had snuck in. Thinking of this, Tong Liwei had the urge to catch Yun Jian's misdeeds and let Ce see Yun Jian's true colors. Ce would probably look down on Yun Jian this way. When Ce was traumatized by the breakup, she would go and comfort him. After all, young men and women would be hurt for a long time after breaking up. Then, would it not be a matter of time before she took office? Tong Liwei smirked, feeling pleased with herself for having such a thought. Chapter 1991. Yun Jian did not know, nor was she interested in what Tong Liwei, Jinyu, and the rest were thinking. By then, Yun Jian had already entered the casino on the second floor of Oasis Hotel. The casino on the second floor of Oasis Hotel was not big, but it was not small either. Yun Jian caught a whiff of the thick scent of cigarette smoke as soon as she walked in. There was a foul stench mixed in as well. There were no guards at the entrance of the casino, so Yun Jian and Qingyu walked in easily. Yun Jian was beautiful with a hint of playfulness amidst her exquisite features. Yun Jian was already 18 years old at the time, and had blossomed into a slender and elegant woman. Her voluptuous figure imperfect, but gave men a sense of conquest just by looking at her from afar. Yun Jian still had her hair tied up in a high ponytail. Looking from afar, she gave off the illusion that she was spirited and so beautiful that one could not take their eyes off her. Therefore, when Yun Jian walked into the casino, a few middle-aged men or bald men, who were counting cards with their legs crossed or shaking wretchedly, sat up straight and straightened their backs when they saw Yun Jian. Where did this woman come from? She's so pretty. She looks just like a movie star. Her skin is so soft and tender. However, the men around them only took a few more glances at Yun Jian and did not have any other thoughts. Liang Xiaomin, Jinyu, Tong Liwei, and the rest followed closely from the main entrance. Liang Xiaomin and the rest who came in later saw Yun Jian and Qingyu walking toward the manager of the casino. What's she doing? Does she know the manager here? Tong Liwei, who wanted to target Yun Jian and find her flaw, so that Ce could see the true colors of a person like Yun Jian, blinked. Tong Liwei thought to herself, this woman is a B****starred indeed. How could she deserve the love of such a handsome man? Such a handsome man should belong to me, Tong Liwei. Tong Liwei thought there was something wrong with Yun Jian when she saw Yun Jian walking toward the manager of the casino. Tong Liwei even wondered if Yun Jian was the secret mistress of the casino's manager. Everyone could see that the manager of the casino was a fatty who was not even 1.68 meters tall, but weighed about 200 caddies. The fat on his body could be rolled into a lump. Just looking at him was enough to make one lose their appetite. Once she thought that Yun Jian could be the mistress of such a person, Tong Liwei was so excited that she wanted to get Ce here right away and let Ce see Yun Jian's true colors. Hey, what are you doing? When Jinyu saw Yun Jian walking toward the manager of the casino, he dashed forward to block her way. Glancing around, Jinyu told Yun Jian softly, "Don't worry. What's a little girl like you doing here?" This kind of place was usually under the protection of big shots from the underworld. They were people from the underworld. Can you afford to offend them? Leave quickly. Don't hurt yourself. Jinyu sounded like he was thinking for Yun Jian, but he was actually thinking for Yun Jian. In spite of it, Jinyu was not thinking for Yun Jian for no reason. He had a purpose in mind. He had a motive to win Yun Jian's affection for him. It was also Jinyu's flirting tactics that won him the affection of many girls. Everyone thought that Jinyu was a good man. However, Jinyu was flirting with the wrong person today. The person he was flirting with was Yun Jian. Move. Yun Jian did not even look at Jinyu. I'm doing this for your own good. Yun Jian walked around Jinyu and continued to walk toward the manager of the casino. With Jinyu blocking him, Jinyu could not get to Yun Jian. What does she mean? Aren't we doing this for her own good? Although Liang Xiaomin ignored Yun Jian in the beginning and acted like a spoiled brat, she was still a nice person when it came to critical moments. Even though her tone was easily misunderstood, Liang Xiaomin really wanted to turn around and call her father or Gu Junjian to stop Yun Jian, afraid that Yun Jian would do something irreversible. Tong Liwei, who was beside her, brainwashed Liang Xiaomin about Yun Jian. I think she must know the manager of this casino. She might even be the woman lying under his crotch. Just as Tong Liwei spoke, the crowd saw Yun Jian standing in front of the manager of the casino. Her frigid gaze flickered as her arrogant, haughty voice rang coldly and echoed throughout the place. You're the manager here? If you don't want to lose your casino in the next 10 minutes, get your best gambler to come out and bet with me. A. Chapter 1992. When Yun Jian said this, her tone was flat. So flat that no one present could tell whether she was happy or sad. But the flat words that came out of Yun Jian's mouth sounded extremely arrogant in the ears of everyone present. Yun Jian had a kind of innate magical power. She used a tone that was so flat that no one could tell whether she was happy or sad. But she could say such arrogant words. At least when she said this, everyone was stunned for a moment. Where did this girl come from? She was so arrogant. As soon as she said this, even the person in charge of the casino, a man in his 30s or 40s who was less than 1.68 meters tall and weighed at least 200 kilograms, looked at Yun Jian. Many gamblers in the casino also stopped their bets and turned to look at Yun Jian. Little girl, you want to bet with the most powerful person in our casino? The person in charge of the casino, a man who weighed around 200 kilograms and was known as Brother Iron Bull, glanced at Yun Jian. Judging from his tone, the aura that he displayed was not at all inferior to Yun Jian's. Some people had a strong aura, but when faced with a truly powerful person, that strong aura would immediately be defeated. For example, this person in charge of the casino, who was known as Brother Iron Bull. You're crazy. I've already told you that those who open casinos must have someone backing them. Be careful not to get entangled with them. You won't be able to escape. I'm doing this for your own good. When Jinyu heard this, he walked closer to Yun Jian and winked at Yun Jian in the softest voice possible. It had to be said that Jinyu was taking a risk this time to make Yun Jian have a good impression of him. When a normal girl saw a guy who was considered handsome showing so much concern for her, even if this guy had a girlfriend, he would still come up to flirt with Jinyu. But Yun Jian? She actually ignored him time and time again. The more Yun Jian ignored him, the more Jinyu wanted to get closer to Yun Jian. Therefore, even though she knew that she couldn't speak carelessly in the casino, not to mention that Yun Jian had already attracted the attention of the person in charge of the casino, Jinyu still took the risk to stand up and dissuade Yun Jian in order to gain a good impression. Yes, Yun Jian looked at the person in charge of the casino, who was Brother Tainyo. She answered softly in front of everyone and still ignored Jinyu. Haha. It's been a long time since I've met such an interesting girl like you. He even said that if our casino's best player didn't come out to bet with you, you could win our casino in 10 minutes. How arrogant. Come. Iron Bull will bet with you. Brother Tainyo struggled to get up from his seat and waved at Yun Jian. Everyone knew that the Oasis Hotel's casino was backed by a powerful gang in Jia Province. And this powerful gang had a certain cooperative relationship with Jia Province's #1 gang, Falcon Hall. Falcon Hall had a very high status in Jia Province. That was Jia Province's #1 gang. Falcon Hall's boss, Slaying Luo, was a powerful and ruthless character. Although Slaying Luo hadn't fought for 2 years, her achievements in the past still made people's blood boil when they heard about it. Brother Tainyo, who was the person in charge of the casino, was also the best gambler in the entire casino. It was said that he had never met a match in the Oasis Hotel's casino. This girl who appeared out of nowhere dared to bet with Brother Tainyo? Was she prepared to lose? Jinyu saw that Brother Tainyo had already spoken, so he didn't dare to dissuade her anymore. What if he went overboard and got himself into trouble? He was so young and had a bright future ahead of him. He couldn't lose his future just because of a girl who didn't listen to his advice. Jinyu was afraid of getting himself into trouble, so when he saw that Yun Jian didn't listen to his advice, he quickly found a reason to get Liang Xiumin, Tong Liwei, and the rest to leave the casino with him. Tong Liwei felt relieved when she saw that Yun Jian was courting death. After all, if one lost a bet and couldn't afford to pay for it, some people even had to use themselves to pay for it. Yun Jian was pretty. If those men won the bet, then wouldn't Yun Jian be? In order to see Yun Jian lose the bet and become the plaything of those men, Tong Liwei urged Jinyu, Liang Xiumin, and the rest to return to the casino with her half an hour later. However, what they saw wasn't Yun Jian being pawned because she lost the bet, but big sister, great aunt, my grandmother, my dear grandmother, I beg you to go gamble in another casino. If you continue to gamble, our casino staff will have nothing to eat. I beg you, please have mercy. Brother Tainyo, who had been full of vigor earlier, was now kneeling and begging Yun Jian for mercy. He looked like he was about to kowtow to Buddha. Tong Liwei, Jinyu, and the rest were stunned when they saw this. What was going on? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.